All right, welcome in everybody to the Fantasy Coaches NFL Mock Draft. I am your host. It hasn't been an over a month now, but I'm back as your host, Coach Steve. Guys, we are doing our live NFL mock draft. Something kind of fun throughout the industry. We got a lot of great guests who are going to be
Back
making.
as your host, Coach Steve, guys.
Oh, I hear myself in the background. I love it already. But we are doing our NFL mock draft, guys. So we have a bunch of different analysts are going to be on talking about a certain pick they might want to make in the NFL draft. We're going to go through. We might have a couple trades. We've already had a few trades kind of go about prior to the show. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I do have my two analysts here. Derek, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, I cannot complain. Always an absolute pleasure anytime I get to come on here with the fantasy coaches and chop it up. And even more fun when I get to come on here and listen to everybody, impart some knowledge here with the draft, and you're really just looking forward to this, and this will be a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Mr. Scott, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. How you doing? It's
Doing
honored to
well.
be here. Great to be here, and I know Derek's looking forward to roasting everybody's picks. So can't wait to hear him roast.
There may be some, there may not be some, there may be some, just remarkable praise being shouted here as well for some of these picks. I have a feeling that we'll get a lot of those here as too.
Yep.
Oh, we definitely will. And like I said, I gave them full range to roast everyone on these picks tonight, guys. So before we do get started for real, just want to let some fantasy coaches knowledge on you guys real quick. This is going to be our show this week. Coach Gibbs, Coach John couldn't make it, unfortunately. They're doing other things. Coach Gibbs might show up at some point. We don't know yet, but this is going to be our show this week. We're not doing a show this week. This is going to be it. And then we're going to be away for a couple days here, obviously. So we'll be back after the draft to catch you guys up with all your fantasy football knowledge. But for now, guys, we got a great mock draft show for you. So on the clock right now, we're starting it right now. The Jacksonville Jaguars have the first pick overall because
now, guys, we got a great mock draft show for you. So
they suck right now. So, Mr. TJ, you are the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, my friend. You can, I guess, tell me your pick now if you want to write in the Google Doc, either or, and we'll go from there, my friend. So if you're ready, let me know.
With the first pick,
Oh, 1 second.
I don't even know. With the first pick, I'm picking Evan Neal, tackle out Alabama.
All right, you guys heard it there first. Evan Neal, the offensive lineman, is going to be the first pick of the NFL draft. Definitely a direction haven't heard much about so far, but again, I'm no analyst, guys. I'm just your commissioner. So, Mr. Analyst, Derek, Scott, you guys have the floor. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. TJ, you go and explain why Evan Neal, the first pick in this NFL draft, and then we'll get to our analysts.
I feel like the Jaguars realize of course they picked Trevor Lawrence the previous season. So I feel like they trying to build around Trevor Lawrence. I think they trying to start with their offensive line. Because I feel like they made a few here and there free agent pickups. So I think they trying to build around Trevor Lawrence. So I went and picked Evan Neal. Just he's like the number one offensive line prospect going to the draft. So I picked Evan Neal. I think they trying to build around Trevor Lawrence.
All right. What a great analysis there. All right. You heard it here, boys. Derek, Scott, you guys now have the floor. Go for it.
Muted.
That's one. Scott, you want me to go? You want to go?
You can go first, Derek.
All right. So TJ, I like the pick, man. I could see the Jacksonville Jaguars doing it, and I do like the train of thinking here. However, I don't think that this is where they're going to go. I think that they are going to go with defensive edge when this one's all said and done. The fact that they brought back Cam Robinson on this one kind of shores up that tackle for at least a little bit here. And with some of the prospects that are sitting out there at edge this year, I really think that that's the way that you're going to go. Aiden Hutchinson has been kind of creeping up or has been a consensus kind of number one overall pick for a lot there. I don't know that that's the route that Jacksonville's actually going to go, though. I think Trent Baalke, when it's all said and done on draft day, you're going to see a guy out of the University of Georgia named Trayvon Walker probably make that call there. An edge with an incredible upside, an athletic, freak among freak type of athletic profile there. And it kind of fits the guy that Trent Baalke likes in the mold of an Aldon Smith type.
Yeah, I agree with Derek.
I
think they're definitely going edge in the first round. I think what they have Peterson in there now, who's an offensive guy. So I can obviously see them making this pick to protect Trevor Lawrence and to give him more time in the pocket to find his weapons. But I think they built the offense in the offseason. I think what they're going to do now is go defense in the draft. And I think either Hutchinson or another edge guy is going to be the first pick for Jacksonville. But I can obviously see them taking Evan Neal without a doubt. So
like I said, too, I think they can go that route. I just don't know that with the difference that you've gotten in the tiers of these edge rushers versus these offensive tackles here, I think they probably go with the edge. But I can absolutely understand the thought process and the thinking behind that pick. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, they might go with Aiden Hutchinson, build their defense. It could go either way. Depends on how they think.
Yeah.
But this is the Jaguars, and they're liable to do anything. They could screw this up totally and go someplace else that we're not even thinking of. But I would think it's the two edge rushes, and then Evan Neal is the third option on their draft board. So
yeah.
All right, love the first pick. I think it's a good safe pick. Obviously, as the commissioner, we love to like the big boys up there. Pew is here right now. We doing a little chest bump, but obviously I can't be there at the draft right now, unfortunately. But we are now on the clock for the Detroit Lions number 2 overall pick, and we will now wait. So if our analysts have anything else they want to say so far, maybe they want to guess the next pick here, we'll go from there. So
I mean, I gotta guess, and I think it's a slam dunk, right? Like you've got a Detroit on the clock here. I know a lot of folks have talked about Detroit maybe trying to trade back, that kind of stuff. But the fact that you've got a guy that has been a lot of people's consensus number 1 overall pick, Faulty at number 2 here. He's a local kid, right? He grew up in Detroit, went to high school in Detroit, went up just down the road to Ann Arbor for college. And you've got a fan favorite there that you can bring in a position that is a desperate need for you at edge. I think Aiden Hutchinson is the slam dunk pick here for him.
Yeah, I agree. If Hutchinson is there, I think the Card could get up to the commissioner in record time this year.
Yeah,
that's just what I think. So
all right. Well, we do have the pick is in. All right, and the Detroit Lions, guys. Let's see here. They are now picking. Well, the click was in. It disappeared. I believe it's Aiden Hutchinson. If I'm not mistaken there, Detroit Lion owner, David. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
We definitely thought a little bit about the corners there. With the edges in this draft, we have pick 32. We could easily pair up, Aboye Mafe or Arnold. I'm going to mess that one up. Arnold from Penn State. And we could have paired them up with a Stingley or a Sauce. But the people wanted Aiden Hutchinson, and the people got Aiden Hutchinson.
All right. The big man is heading to Detroit now. So, boys, you guys just mentioned this man. How do you guys like this pick?
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, they did some work on their offense in the offseason, so I think they need to work on their defense. And I think an edge rusher like Hutchinson coming into Detroit from Michigan, where they've seen him play for 3 or 4 years, it's just a slam dunk pick. I agree with Dave. I think Hutchinson's going to be an anchor to that defensive line for years to come for them. So.
Right. Yeah. It's a slam dunk pick here, right? Like this is one of those that with Hutchinson on the board, I don't think Detroit could have written that name on that card and sprinted it up there to the commissioner's table any faster than possibly what we saw there. So from the standpoint that, when you look at Hutchinson, he is a guy with a motor on it and fits what the Lions organization is really looking to do. And the fact that you can potentially get in there, apply a little pressure to the quarterback and really start building on the defensive side of things there too, which really kind of brings that mentality of from what you've seen Dan Campbell talk about and preach about in his press conferences, his after, his post-game interviews, all of the things that you see him say in the media. He kind of fits that persona of what they're looking to build there in Detroit.
All right. Definitely a fantastic pick here. We are now on the third pick, guys, and the third pick goes to the Houston Texans. Now the pick is not in yet, but they are on the clock now. So, boys, what do we think Houston's going to go here? They have a lot of needs, obviously. They just got rid of Deshaun Watson, so maybe quarterback, unless y'all love Davis Mills maybe. But how do you guys feel right now until we get that pick in?
So I'm just going to go on say something that I'm already on the record for saying that Davis Mills is a better quarterback than any quarterback in this draft class by a mile, right? Like he's a tier better than any quarterback in this draft class in my eyes. So they've already got their quarterback here. You're going to likely see the Texans already be drafting high next year as well, which is a much richer quarterback environment draft class there. But there's a lot of possibilities for the Texans right here that you could go with. And I think there's it's an interesting deal here because if you're the Texans, you've got to then also be taken into account that you've got a pick, about 10 draft picks from now. So you've got to really kind of set the stage on which one you think is going to be there at 13 with some of the needs that you have there. Right now, Houston needing a lot of help around edge, a lot of help around cornerback, a lot of help around offensive line there. And so, you've really got to kind of balance that out on what you think is going to be there and which one you're going to be happier with taking here with your 3 and what you think is going to be there at 13.
Yeah, I would lean more toward the offensive line right now. I think they can get a cornerback or a secondary help at their next pick, early teens. So I would think it's either going to be Icom or maybe a Cross, one of those two guys. But I think they're going to go offensive line. I think they're going to try to beef that up as best as they can. Davis Mills is a serviceable quarterback for them. He was serviceable last year. He had his spots. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think, and they also need help in the backfield, running back, but it's way too early to pick that. So I think it's offensive line help here for Houston.
All right. Well, we will see in moments here. I believe the pick is coming in. I'm just trying to wait through the grapevines here, guys. That's for sure. If the Houston owner can let me know in the chat, so we will do this. But the pick is here, guys. The Houston Texans, the 3rd pick overall in the 2022 NFL Draft, take Kyle Hamilton, safety. And now down in Houston, Chris Pinto.
We're popping
Why
bottles
Kyle
down
Hamilton,
here at the
buddy?
Bayou, y'all, for Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame. This kid is 6'4", 220. He molds the defense. He's going to change the way we play defense in Houston. Davis Mills, like Derek mentioned earlier, he was analyst last year's, rated probably in the top 6, top 5 quarterbacks. The kid is going to be our quarterback for the future. We do need to beef up this offensive line, but with our division rivals taking our pick off of our big board, Evan Neal, we'll see it 2 times a year, maybe 3 down the road. Really wanted Evan Neal, but super happy with Kyle Hamilton, who will change our defense. He was number 2 off of our big board. So roast away, guys.
All right. So, boys, you heard it here. He said roast away. Kyle Hamilton had a projection of like up here and all the way down to like pick 15. But obviously he goes early. So how do you guys feel about Kyle Hamilton now in Houston?
I don't have a problem with this pick. I think it makes a lot of sense, right? When you're Houston and you have a positional need at just about every position across your lineup here, this one makes a lot of sense from the standpoint that you get a defensive weapon, right? And this is part of the reason that you've seen Kyle Hamilton slipping over the last month or so is really some poor measurables at his pro day, at the combine there. Didn't necessarily show top end speed, show elite speed as a defensive weapon, which is really where you're kind of drafting him to play. But his range and his size, right? Like this is one of those that the straight line speed didn't translate into a 40-yard dash, looking at his combine, looking at his pro day, but on film, I don't see him lagging behind, people just blowing by him, things like that, that would suggest a slow speed there. So I like the pick. I think that probably they would go with. I could see them going with the Sauce Gardner here as well. I do like the Evan Neal pick there, but if he was still on the board, I could also see them going with another tackle in Ike Ikuwanu. I could see them doing that, which going that route would allow them to potentially move on from Larry Tunsil and that contract here. Coming up there soon. So that could be one of those that we could see them draft Icky and turn around after the draft and try and dump a Larry Tunsil and that contract that he's gotten and potentially get more draft picks towards future capital there as well.
Yeah, I know Dynasty Dorks just wrote in it that he probably wouldn't have been there at 13, and I totally agree. He probably would not have been. So if you wanted him, that bad, you needed to take him here. Also, I think you look at the coach, Lovie Smith, defensive-minded coach. So right there, that should tell you where Houston might go in Thursday's first round toward the defense. And Gardner could be an option for them at 3. Kyle Hamilton is an electric player on defense. He's probably a top 2 or 3 back of the defense type of player. So he could be back there for years to come, anchor that defense. And he could be a sneaky, really good defensive player. So I like the pick for Houston. I think Houston made out well with this pick. So
right. And what you're saying, one of the things too, you bring up Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith over the last little bit has been on record saying that they are in need of a corner. They're in need of a shutdown type of defensive player. Kyle Hamilton being a guy that they can shift around there. He's a guy that actually matches up incredibly well with some of these big body tight ends that we've seen, and not necessarily that you see down there in the AFC South, but in other conferences out there as well. He's a guy that can take that tight end in the slot there and play man-to-man coverage on that one as well. But I think Kyle Hamilton does fit very well into a Lovie Smith zone type of setup.
All right. You heard it here first. Well, everyone, the analysts have their opinion on it, and I love it. All right. Now the 4th pick is on the clock. The New York Jets are now on the clock, and we will wait and see if we get a selection quickly or it might take some time. So the New York Jets, you are on the clock. So, boys, the New York Jets, a young team, nice young offense, but, maybe they want to help Zach Wilson out. Maybe they want to help that defense out. Where do you guys think this pick is going?
So I think at this point, right, the Jets are in love with the fact that the Houston Texans blinked on Sauce Gardner, and this is a slam dunk pick for them. They need help at corner, and so I think that that's the way they're going to go, knowing the fact that when they roll down there at 10, there's likely going to be guys that you can go out there and get at 10. You may still have a Jermaine Johnson out there. From the way these things go in, you may see Thibodeau still out there as well. I highly doubt that he's going to be there at 10, but he may fall. So you've got some edges that you can play there at 10. You've got some wide receivers down there at 10 as well, right? Like they could go with a Drake London down there. But the fact that you can come up and you can get Sauce Gardner here, I think that's the way that they go on this one. Even though that you still got some of those edges out there, I think that the tier drop off from cornerback to what you're going to be able to get there at 10 is pretty significant. Whereas what you'll still be able to have available at 10.
Yeah, I agree. Once they whiffed on Tyreek Hill and making that trade, I think the Jets organization and Saleh is looking clearly at defense and secondary help. I think they want to get a cornerback that's going to be a shutdown cornerback, is going to have some speed, is going to be able to one side of the field lock it down. So I think Sauce Gardner definitely is the pick here. I can't see them going any other way but that. So I like that. Plus, he's been rising up in the draft season, in draft boards too, and he's a talent that's going to be hard for receivers to get open against. So
right.
All right. I think the pick is coming in here. Let's see. Give me 1 second, guys. Just following up with the announcement people. They're slow here, guys. They're not getting me the picks in time here. So let's see if they can let me know what the pick is exactly so I can announce it. So let's see here. I think I see it coming in here now. All right. Let's see. The 4th pick is in. Doing that way too late, but I love it. All right. With the 4th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Kayvon Thibodeau, edge. Boom. New York Jets made their pick. Now we're going to hear from their GM, Dan. Dan, what is going on, buddy? Why did you make this pick?
All right. So much to the chagrin of all of our analysts, we did go with Kayvon Thibodeau over Sauce Gardner here. My thinking is you think about the Robert Saleh defenses in San Francisco. They're always built upon a great pass rush, having great players off the edge. And I think they're not going to pass up the ability to take their pick of the litter here at 4. This New York Jets defense, it finished bottom 6 in the league in most pass rush win rate statistics. So you could take your pick at which one you want to look at, but it's going to be bottom 6 no matter which one you pick. Now, they will be returning Carl Lawson, their big free agent signing from last offseason this year. However, Lawson's deal, if you look at the contract, they do have an out next year. So this could be a good time to bring in a player like Thibodeau, let him not have to make an impact right away. The defense doesn't have to rely on him right away. But next year, if they were to move on from Lawson in a salary cap saving situation, Thibodeau could be the guy who steps in and is a true difference maker on this defense when it comes into the late 2022/early 2023 season.
Yeah.
All right. The Jets are happy about their pick here, but do the analysts agree?
Yeah, I can't fault this pick at all, right? Like, especially with that logic, that was a lot of what we were just talking about there is, when you're picking at 4, when you're picking at 10, you've got to make the decision as that GM of who's still going to be around there at 10. And is that a positional need that you're comfortable with, right? And so if it's at 10 and they decide to double up on the defense there and go with a cornerback, right? You're looking at a lot of these teams that may not necessarily go corner up until that 10th pick. So you may still get your pick of Ahman Gardner still there. I doubt that he will be, but you may still see that one. You'll definitely still probably see Derek Stingley Jr. Available there as well. Whereas Kayvon Thibodeau probably wouldn't have been there. And, Jermaine Johnson, the other, edge rusher in this draft before I see a big tier break fall in, Jermaine Johnson may have been there. So this is not a bad pick at all. And I could certainly see the logic behind that. And I like it.
Yeah, it's all about philosophy with these coaches and where they've come from and their background and things like that. And Salah's come from the San Francisco tree. So
right.
His philosophy is basically the same as Shanahan's in the San Francisco tree. So I can see them making this pick as well. I just think they need help on defense. So anywhere they can to get it, and a Thibodeau who's a stud, they're going to go that route. If Thibodeau's taken in the top 3, which may happen, then they'd probably look at Gardner or a corner as their first pick. So, and I agree with Derek. I think they could look at wide receiver. They could look at cornerback at 10. They could basically go anywhere they want to at 10. So.
All right. I love the analysis there, boys. As always, let's see if the next pick is on the clock here. It's the New York Giants, guys. And I believe this pick is already in. So let me take a look here. And it is. So got to finish that first. Damn. All right. With the 5th pick, the New York Giants select. I'm going to say his name wrong. It's Iki Ukiwa. I can't say his name. I'm not going to say his name.
Iki
Ekwonu. Thank you, Dave. Even though you're a GM, not the commissioner. I'm just kidding. Much love, brother. I'm just kidding. He's basically been my co-commissioner this entire time. Yeah, guys. So what Dave said, and Charlie, you are in here, my friend.
Yeah, so this felt like an absolute slam dunk of a pick. I mean, the Giants have a pressing need on the offensive line, especially at right tackle. And this is Daniel Jones' make it or break it year. The Giants obviously want to see what they have in him. And in order to do that, you're going to have to keep him upright. And outside of Andrew Thomas, the Giants' offensive line is in absolute tatters. Now, they made some additions on the interior, but right tackle was still a very glaring need. And Ekwonu is just an absolute mauler of a blocker. He's already an elite run blocker. He's already solid in pass protection. And he's only going to get better as the years come on. He's going to be a very solid piece in that line for the future of New York for Daniel Jones or whoever ends up under center. I got to say, Saquon Barkley would love this pick if it was made, if the draft was tonight. I'll say that much.
All right. Yeah, Saquon Barkley is probably loving this pick for sure. Well, Scott, I will let you go first, my friend, because you have a pick coming up. So tell us about if you like this pick or not.
So I like it. The Giants have a glaring need on the offensive line. That's the big red light that's flashing. So Brian Daboll and Shane coming in from Buffalo. They want to protect Daniel Jones. They know that they messed up Daniel Jones' progression here. So they want to do that. They also want to get, if Saquon is there, they also want to get him some added extra beef up front to maybe create some holes and some space for him to run in. So I love this pick for the Giants. I think that they have to go offensive line, whether it be Icum or Cross from Mississippi State. So I like it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this pick there as well, right? Offensive line, it's already been said, is a glaring need. And, Ike Ikuanu is a guy that some people are actually rating ahead of Evan Neal when it comes to some of their draft boards here. So this is a slam dunk pick for me, and one that I think the Giants did a very good job picking here. And it'll be interesting to see how they address some other potential needs here right after the Panthers pick.
All right. So the Panthers are now on the clock here. So until we get that pick here, I'll let Scott do his background work. Derek, man, is this when the first quarterback goes off the board? Because things are looking kind of interesting right now. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think that this is probably where the first spot that we see a quarterback taken, and it'll be interesting to see how that comes to play, right? And you see some of the narratives and some of the storylines out there, right? Is it a guy like Kenny Pickett, who the Panthers owner has a lot of ties to Pittsburgh, is one of the largest donors to Pitt University. Matt Rule tried to heavily recruit Kenny Pickett when he was still at the college ranks. So that could be a very interesting play here. But I think the Panthers are going to try and swing for the fences here, and they're going to take a guy that has a maybe not as safe of a floor that you'll see out of a Kenny Pickett. Maybe not as polished as a QB there, but a guy that has more of a ceiling and bigger upside. And I think that you'll probably see a Malik Willis is where I would probably see this one play out here, from the standpoint that the other positions that they still need. I don't know that makes as big of an impact on what that Panthers organization does right now.
All right. As we wait for this Panthers pick to get in here, I don't know if he's ready yet or not. He's still thinking there. All right. Oh, man. Oh, wait. I think the pick is in. All right. The pick is in, guys. And this is going to be a doozy of a pick here. So let me get my card from the downstairs room here. And let's see. Okay, guys. So with the sixth pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Malik Willis, quarterback out of Liberty. The first quarterback is off the board here now. Scott, why Malik Willis at the sixth pick, man?
I think Malik Willis has been shooting up draft boards, and I think his arm, his booming arm, and his legs give Carolina, if you notice anything about Carolina's history recently, it's Cam Newton, it's a lot of running, PJ Walker, stuff like that, so that there's a lot of running in their quarterback. So I just think his big arm and his ability to scramble and get out of the pocket and make some big plays with his feet are going to put those in good stead. Carolina has to draft a quarterback here. They boxed themselves in right now. Matt Rule's got to win. He has to. He has no choice this year, or he's going to be out of Carolina. The owner Tepper is getting really, really tired of them losing. So they have to draft a quarterback. They can't go without getting one in the draft. And I think after the first round, the depth at quarterback falls off tremendously. So Malik Willis is the pick. And I heard the other day his comp was to Lamar Jackson. So on NFL radio. So that's another reason why that I decided to go Malik Willis here for Carolina. So.
All right. Wow. Malik Willis is off the board, guys. Derek, since you are the analyst in this section here.
Well, I think I said everything that I needed to say about this one beforehand. Even foreshadowing that Malik Willis would be the pick here on that one. From the standpoint that one of the interesting things that he has a deficit in, and I actually agree with Coach Craig's comment that he just put down there in the chat there, but he's a dual threat guy, but some of the issues that you're going to have with this is the receiving core that Carolina has here, right? They have some very dynamic playmakers in here. Malik Willis has a tendency to throw the ball a little flat when he throws the deep routes there, which, you're now making a deep route, a contested touch type of thing for Robbie Anderson there. Also the fact that when you're looking at that he has a hard time throwing guys open right now. So that's something that will need to be worked on, which doesn't necessarily bode well for a guy like DJ Moore, who can break one loose and score a touchdown from anywhere on the field. So Malik Willis is a little bit of a project here, but I think that you've got enough dynamic playmakers around him that you can see him be put into some success potentially early on here, especially if that Carolina defense starts off the season like they did last season early on, where they were a very, very good defensive unit. You could see some things play out there. Plus the fact that, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if you see Sam Darnold start the season here and them kind of slow roll Malik Willis throughout the season, get him some packages early on, and allow him to be kind of worked in and slow the game down there a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I think Donald's going to start off the season as the quarterback. I think McAdoo basically said that, which I think is going to happen. And then I'd say about halfway through the year, I think they're going to start taking a more deeper look at getting Willis into games, especially if they're out of the playoff picture, which they could very well be. They'll get Willis into some games late in the season and see how he can do. But it's a questionable pick, but Carolina's just boxed themselves in so bad right now that they have to take a quarterback, whether it's the best quarterback or the fourth best quarterback. They have to take a quarterback at number 6. So.
All right. Loving it, boys. All right. Well, we do have a couple picks that are coming in already. We are moving along here. So I will get my noise back. All right. So if I didn't tell you guys already, the New York Giants were back on the clock again for the 7th pick. And they plan on taking Admon Gardner, Sauce Gardner, as he is called to a lot of people out there. And I believe that was Charlie. Again, you had 2 picks in the top 10 here. How do you feel about the 2nd pick, and why did you make it?
Well, I'm convinced that at some point, maybe during the draft, the Giants are going to be moving James Bradbury. They've kind of made that very clear already. And even if they don't, I still think this is a pick that they could easily make. I would have liked Kayvon Thibodeau if he had fallen a few spots, but the Jets decided to take him at 4. But Ahmad Gardner is very clearly the best cornerback in this draft class. He's the best man coverage corner in this draft class, and that's the exact type of coverage that Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale is going to be running, because he loves to blitz. He loves to blitz, and he leaves his corners on an island, and that's going to be something that fits Sauce Gardner's profile very well. So I think he's going to be elite in New York.
All right. So, boys, how do you guys love this pick for the Giants here?
No, I'm a big fan of this one, right? Like the fact that Sauce Gardner has kind of slipped down the board here all the way to number 7 on this one. I think it fits exactly what the Giants are trying to do. I think that it is a really, really good selection and really great value on this one. While it may not necessarily be an exact position of need for what the Giants have right now, right? Like the Giants have probably more pressing issues when it comes to positional picks here. This is a pick that can be just an absolute home run for him, and this is certainly a best player available type of pick because what else that they could be looking at, right? Like you still need edge, you need tight end. Like those are 2 pretty big pressing issues for them. Tight end, you're not going to be taking in the first round at all in this draft. And as far as an edge goes, I mean, you could still go out there and get like a Jermaine Johnson. But Sauce Gardner, I think, allows them to really step up the defensive play there more so than what you're going to see Jermaine Johnson do from the edge.
Yeah, Sauce Gardner is probably either the best or the 2nd best cornerback in this draft, along with Stingley of LSU. Couple stat I saw earlier today, which boggled my mind. He's never allowed a touchdown in his career. Right. So he's gonna allow a touchdown in the NFL. But that when teams see that, they think stud cornerback, lockdown cornerback, and that's what the Giants are thinking here is a lockdown stud cornerback that's going to shut down probably the top receiving weapon on the opposing team, or at least limit them to a 3-catch, 21-yard game. So. I like the pick for the Giants. I think they could build this secondary with this kid for years to come. So,
yeah.
All right. So we're going to go to the next pick here now. The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock, guys, and they rushed, I think, to the stands to put this next pick in here. So let me get my music back. All right, the Atlanta Falcons all ready to make their pick here with the 8th overall pick in the NFL draft. Trayvon Walker, defensive lineman. Yeah, I believe he is here. He was here? No, maybe he is here. Dan. Oh, Dan is here.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
still here.
Dan, you are here, my friend. Tell us why.
All right, so the Falcons at number 8 take Trayvon Walker, defensive lineman from the University of Georgia. Trayvon Walker's athletic profile has been off the charts this pre-draft process. Many sports books are actually projecting him as the number 1 pick for the Jaguars. I think that's a little rich for my blood, but that's a debate that honestly we could probably spend a couple hours on. The one knock on Trayvon is that his production profile does not meet the athletic measurables. However, we can make an argument that when you're playing on a defense that has 5 or 6 other first-round picks, it's hard to produce the numbers that scouts, or the NFL draft community would like to see. This kid's got an amazing wingspan. He can drop back into coverage. And to be honest, this Atlanta Falcons roster is just decimated for talent on the defensive side. They have a great young corner to build around. However, their pass rush is non-existent. I know I've referenced the Jets being bottom 6 in the league in most pass rush categories. Well, this Atlanta team is actually last in most of those categories, whether it's sacks, pressures, hurries, they're last all around. I know this Atlanta team does need a lot of wide receiver help. This is a fairly deep wide receiver class, and we do pick again at the top of the second. So I think for the time being, you just got to take the talent at edge and get a cornerstone piece for this defense.
All right. I love it. I love it. Definitely a pick that I don't know much about the defense personally, but I know that he's been in the conversation for 1 overall, maybe. I don't know. But how do our analysts feel about this pick? You steal pick here, or was this?
Love this pick. Absolutely love this pick, right? When you look at the Falcons, they don't really have a ton of pieces on this roster. Trayvon Walker is, again, right, went to college right down the road from the Falcons. This is one of those that the Falcons fan base will rally around. And this is a guy that, we mentioned it earlier, is a freak among freak athletic profiles type of thing. Like, this guy has a motor that doesn't stop. He's one of the few guys out there that can go 3 technique. He can line up outside. He can line up over a tackle. And when you look at the edge guys, in a lot of cases, they're pass rush first and run stop second. Whereas with Trayvon Walker, he's a guy that can stop the run, set the edge, and has huge pass rush upside. And you're right, like he mentioned it a minute ago, that the doesn't really have the production profile that fits his athletic profile there, but there's a lot of things that can be said about that. And I think a lot of that has to do with how Georgia ran the scheme, right? Like, you look at a Jermaine Johnson who was at Georgia, a year previous to it, didn't have a huge production output to it, goes down to Florida State and blows up because they took the leashes off and let him run. I think you'll see something similar here, where you'll see Trayvon Walker be a consistent double-digit sack guy in the NFL for the next 5, 6, 7 years to come.
Yeah, I agree. They need athletic freaks of nature on defense. And this kid presents that to them. So I think if Trayvon Walker slips to the 8th spot in Atlanta, even though everybody's got them taking a wide receiver, they'll go with this pick, I believe. Yep. I just, everybody's talking wide receiver Atlanta. They're definitely going there. I don't think they're going to go there. I really don't. I think they're going to try to build it in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds that way, and go with a defensive edge rusher that can cause havoc on the offensive line and quarterbacks into making bad decisions. So this is a great pick for Atlanta. I love this pick.
I think to your point, wide receiver is a fallback for Atlanta if they don't get one of these top tier edge rushers to fall to them, or if they, there's a chance that you could certainly see like an Ikuanu fall to number 8 there, and at which point, if you can take a tackle that you can have play the left tackle or right tackle in that, I think that they could snatch him up there as well if he happened to fall there. But the fact that Trayvon Walker's fallen all the way down there, they can't wait to get to the podium fast enough.
All right. Yeah, definitely a very great pick there, guys. But our next pick is in, and that's going to be for the Kansas City Chiefs, who actually traded up to get this pick. And I thought they were going to go in a certain direction here. And they, to me personally, went a different direction. But What they did end up doing was trading the 29th and 30th pick and the 96th pick. We're not going into past round one, guys, but we had to make the trades fair. And they got the 9th pick from the Seattle Seahawks and the 152nd pick overall. And since our analyst is unable to get in the video chat, we tried to call him a couple times, but it looks like the GM was a little busy partying about his pick here. But we will announce that pick here right now. Jermaine Johnson goes to the Kansas City Chiefs here with the 9th pick overall, guys. And I do have a little bit of analysis from him here. The Chiefs are dying for a playmaker on the defensive line here. They were near the bottom of the league in sacks, and Frank Clark will be gone in the near future. Even though I thought strongly about Garrett Wilson with this pick here, I felt as though I was able to get impact wide receiver in the 2nd round of the draft. Johnson had 11.5 sacks last season and will immediately be the 2nd best pass rusher for the Chiefs behind Jones. Now, boys, how do we feel about this pick here?
Yeah, the Chiefs aren't necessarily known for trading up in the draft there. It's one of those that I think that you'll probably see them stay put on draft day there. The fact that when you're looking at the picks that they've got, there's a good chance that they can get an impact edge rusher fall to them there, as well as take their impact wide receiver there as well. When you look at it, you could likely see a Devontae Wyatt fall down to them at the in those picks. Boye Mafe fall down to him there. Now, those guys are a tier lower than what you'll see a Jermaine Johnson do. But the wide receivers that are going to be there, I think that's probably a little bit more upside for them there as well. So I can see why they did it. I don't necessarily know that that's what we're going to see come draft day, but it does fit kind of Seattle's bill where they will trade down on some of those. But I could also see Seattle had they stick there with Seattle needing a linebacker, going with a Devin Lloyd there. You've also got like Derek Stingley Jr. on the board still there, and I could see them going with a shutdown corner there as well, try and build around that defense a little bit there too. But so it's an interesting pick, and Jermaine Johnson is definitely a guy that has a big motor, can just an overall pesky kind of guy when it comes to playing defense out there. So I like the pick. I just don't know that you're going to see them trade 2 first rounders to move up to 9th to do it.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of these teams that are in the early part of trade up, they're looking for defensive help as much as they possibly can get it. Again, Kansas City's another team that's been rumored that they're going to go wide receiver if they stay put, but they're also rumored to be trying to get up into the middle of the first round. So, defensive studs and athletic defensive freaks are something that coaches covet. And this is another guy that's a defensive stud, that's an athlete that is quick. So I think the Chiefs, if they were up at 9, would jump to get this guy. I think he just presents problems on the offensive lines and offensive teams. So I love this pick as well. I think Jermaine Johnson falling to them at 9 is a great value to them. So
yeah.
I'm on mute, guys. Sorry about that. I was on mute. All right, guys. Love it. Love it. All right. We are going on to the next pick here now, guys. And it's the New York Jets again for the 2nd pick of this draft here. And they're not going to be done yet, guys. We'll get to that at some point later on in the show. But they are on their 2nd pick here now, guys. And I really thought they'd go a different direction. This draft is not going the way I thought it was going to go. But let me get my music because I did miss that last time here. So all right, with the 10th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Devon Stingley Jr., cornerback. Now, Dan, why did the Jets go this direction here? Why not maybe one of the big-time wide receivers, buddy?
Yeah, so I know everybody at 4 was, saying Sauce Gardner. We went with Thibodeau there to get the edge, and now we have some people can make an argument for the corner 1 in this draft class. Not going to spend any time debating, Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner back and forth. I will just mention that his breakout season, he was 18 years old playing in the SEC, which is where all the big NFL talent comes from. Now, since then, he's dealt with, I believe it was a Liz Frank injury and another lower body injury that kind of derailed his college career. And let's be honest, that whole LSU team as a whole was derailed for a large portion of the 2020 and 2021 season. But I believe the talent is still there. And being able to take 2 top 10 picks and turn them into a wonderful edge rusher and what can be a dominant shutdown corner, I think that's just a smash for this Robert Saleh defense that is trying to really build something nice in New York. And now I know the question on everybody's mind is, wide receiver. Drake London is the big name that people like to talk about. But I feel like when you have the opportunity to grab a potential top 3 at an impact position like this, you just have to make it no matter what.
I mean, they've had some pretty impactful cornerbacks in New York over the last decade. We all know of Mr. Island over there, but analyst boys, Derek, Scott, how do we feel about this pick?
I love this pick. This is one of those that, again, Derek Stingley Jr. And I'm right there with you, Dan, when you said that it could be argued that he's the best corner in this draft. I think if he's not injured over the last 2 years, he doesn't kind of get buried a little bit like he has to the middle of the first round draft designation that we've seen happen over the last month or so. But this guy can be a shutdown corner, and I think he has the ability to transform a defense at the cornerback position as well. So the Jets are absolutely killing this first round, picking up 2 huge positional advantages there that I think can help transform that defense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you looked at the Jets' success, recent success when Sanchez was the quarterback, Darrelle Revis was back in the back secondary. So I like this pick. I think Stingley is a presence on defense. I think he's aggressive. I think he's going to come up with a bunch of interceptions this year. And I think the Jets may try to trade for a wide receiver, a big name wide receiver. They seem to be in that market to trade for a big time wide receiver. So don't be surprised if they go out and they get somebody big like a Debo, like somebody like that. So I don't think the Jets are done after this draft. I think they're looking to see what big name wide receiver is out there and is easily accessible for them, like a DK Metcalf maybe, or Debo. So I don't think they're done with this draft, but I love what the Jets have done at these picks. I think they built a solid foundation for their defense for sure. So.
All right, and they sure did, guys. Definitely getting a nice. And I figured if they were going to go offense, they're definitely hitting that defense very hard. Obviously, a defensive-minded head coach. So, all right, on the clock now is the Washington Commanders. First time saying that correctly, actually. I love it.
Dude, let me before you get started on that. I love the Jets pick. I mean, with the depth that you have at wide receiver and the lack of top end talent, I mean, it makes so much sense. Plus, I mean, the trade that they had later in the draft, which I don't know if we mentioned or not, where they actually moved up to acquire a 3rd first-round pick, which works perfectly with the Zach Wilson contract. Like, you have 3 first-round picks. You can grab a wide receiver with that next one. It's great, man. I love what the Jets did there. And I'm kind of pissed because I had a trade that I was working on as part of the Washington team.
Well, that's unfortunate, but we will be getting to you, Mr. I want to dress better than the commissioner today.
It was an event, dude. I had to show up for the event. Come on.
I like how you dress.
I guess I should go through a time. All right, so we do have the Washington Commanders pick in here, guys. So
I hate it.
all right, so with the 11th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders selects Drake London, wide receiver. Now, GM down in Washington, why Drake London?
So this isn't a pick that I would take, right? First off, I was trying to trade out because Washington should trade out regardless. They have a few holes. They don't have any one that's more important than the other right now. So trying to acquire multiple picks should be the goal. And I actually had a trade that I was working on with the Bills where I would acquire Jordan Poyer along with 2 first-round picks, one this year and one next year. However, the previous pick with Derek Stingley fell through and he wanted a corner. So that obviously didn't work out. We need a safety. There's no safety right here. So I went with what I thought Washington would do in this organization. And this organization has multiple different ties to like Devontae Parker. And then we also have ties to Devin Funchess. And we have ties to Kelvin Benjamin, right? So like you've seen this organization in the first and second round acquire these big, 6'4" type, possession receivers. And Drake London is obviously that. I mean, the guy was really good. And we see all this contested catch type stuff where like he was never open. He was always having these contested catches, but it wasn't because of him. It was because the quarterback wasn't delivering the ball on time and he wasn't doing his reads properly. I mean, he was wide open at multiple times and the quarterback just didn't deliver at the time that he should have been open. So it looked like contested catches, but that's really not the case. The separation's fine. And I believe strongly that we should see Drake London carve a role out for himself relatively early on in the season. Might not be week 1, but by week 7 or 8, I think Washington starts to include him in the plans. And I just don't see how you could go outside that way. The only other pick that I was considering was Lloyd over there, the linebacker. But since they drafted Jamin Davis in last year's draft, I think they want to give him a chance to develop. And so, yeah, they could end up drafting Lloyd and moving Jamin Davis to the outside and hopefully use this as athleticism to help cover tight ends, running backs, and get pressure on the quarterback. If Drake London's still there, I don't see them doing that. I think they go after Drake London and try to make their acquisition of Carson Wentz not look nearly as bad as it was.
All right, you heard it here first, boy. The man with the bow tie. A lot of great things
You don't
to
see
say
him.
there.
You don't see him making them type catches in the league like he did in college.
Oh, no, I absolutely do. I just think that he shouldn't have had as many contested catches because he was open before the before the quarterback delivered the ball. Like he was getting himself wide open and the quarterback didn't deliver it on time. So he won't see like people are like, oh, he couldn't create separation. That wasn't the case. His quarterback just wasn't delivering the ball when it should have been delivered. So he was open. He was able to create separation. He's a lot better receiver than what people are giving him credit for.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I love this pick, and I love the analysis that you gave there as well. I got to give it to a guy that dresses to the nines showing up here and backs it up with amazing analysis there too. So I like it. I do like this Drake London pick. I think it fits what Washington's going to do for a lot of the same reasons that you said there. I also like the fact that, it allows them to bring that in and allows for a true it allows for them to play off with both McLaurin and Drake London there, really kind of spread the field out there a little bit more so, and put the weapons around Carson Wentz to really, see what you've got in the young man there. And the fact that, some of the other positional needs that they've got were kind of off the board there, right? Like, I could see if Kyle Hamilton, which I've seen him fall in a lot of mocks to that 11th spot. Like I've seen him fall to a lot of that spot right there around that 11th pick. And I could see them smashing the yes button over Drake London in that case, which makes a lot of sense, right? Like fits in on that backside. You've got that amazing front four that Washington has on the defensive line and allows you to put a defensive weapon in the backfield to build around there as well. So that would be another player that I could see falling to Washington there, and them taking a very hard look at over a wide receiver in that case, from the standpoint that Ron Rivera, the head coach, is a defensive minded guy first and foremost, and allows you to keep building that.
Yep.
Yeah, Washington desperately needs a number 2 wide receiver. Their number 2 target right now is either Logan Thomas or J.D. McKissick. That's not good enough.
Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, and you'll see Curtis Samuel back this year.
He was hurt all last year, so
he was hurt all last year. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. But I love this pick. I think the Washington team needs a second wide receiver, big, tall receiver, can go down the field, can catch short outs. I look at him as like a DK Metcalf light, where he can get down the field. He needs a separation, which he should get with Wentz. I think Wentz will give him some separation. In college, he didn't get that, but David Shaw said that from Stanford said he's a very, very elite athlete, could be an elite athlete. So I love this pick. I think they need a wide receiver in the worst way. If Stingley was there, I think they would have went Stingley. Gardner was there, I think they would have went Gardner, one of those cornerbacks. But I think this is a great option for them to take. Right. So
yeah, Sauce fell to me in another mock draft that I was doing, and I smashed accept on that one. I don't know if Stingley's going to fit the role that they would want to play on the outside, especially like a win now type thing where Stingley's athleticism is phenomenal, but he might take a little bit of tweaking and developing. I think that's the case. There's enough teams out there, such as the Saints or the Bills, for example, that would actually trade up for that pick. So if Stingley's on the board, I definitely think that Washington 100% will trade back if they have the option to. At this point, it's kind of like there's a giant tier gap between who's on the board right now and who's on the board in 10 picks from now. Or who was on the board the pick before this, and then who's on the board 10 picks from now. I feel like everybody in that tier is kind of at the same level. So I'd be looking to get in that sweet spot around the 20th pick if I possibly could, and trade back by Washington.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think Washington, if they could trade down and collect more assets, they'll try to do that.
Right.
So.
And it's one of those two that we could see a similar connection happen between Drake London and Carson Wentz, as we saw from a former USC wide receiver in Indianapolis last year with a Michael Pittman, who has a similar build, similar type of game as what we'll see Drake London do here at the next level as well.
The big question is if Washington's offensive coordinator can actually be brilliant enough to put together a concept to where they could work around these wide receivers and actually get Drake London in the slot, along with Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, and kind of move these guys around enough. And I just don't know if that's the case with Scott Turner, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I could see them really putting them in that you're the X, you're the Y, you're the Z, and it kind of gets locked that way, which you've got between the three of those guys. They can rotate between them all, and they just cause matchup issues. So I love the pick there and what they can do, but I do have some of those same concerns you just mentioned.
Plus, correct me if I'm wrong, is McLaurin a free agent after this year?
Technically, yes.
Yeah, he's on the last year of his deal.
So I wonder if Washington can't sign him, that they would make this pick on
so
Thursday night.
There's been talks that they could trade him to Green Bay. Green Bay might be interested during the draft, depending on who falls to Green Bay at the wide receiver position. Yeah. So we could see them trade McLaurin, but if that's the case, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Washington's going to do what they can to hold on to him and try to win this year.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Definitely a fantastic pick for Washington for sure. Now we are on the 12th pick, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. And that pick is already in, guys. And let me get my music out. With the 12th pick of the NFL draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Trent Mcduffie. If I'm not saying that wrong.
Trent McDuffie, yeah.
Trent McDuffie. Yep. All right.
He's a cornerback out of Washington.
You were on. That was your pick, my friend. Why Trent McDuffie?
The Vikings need cornerback help in the worst way. This kid plays bigger than his 5'11". He's a taller cornerback. 41% completion percentage last year against him. He only allowed 5 catches for 111 yards last year. It's a physical cornerback. Another team that needs a lockdown cornerback. They got Patrick Peterson, but he's long in the tooth right now. So they need They need secondary help in the worst way. So they're gonna go McDuffie if Stingley is not available, which I was hoping he was available, but since he went, McDuffie was the next guy on my board. So that's why I went with. And based on need too. They need cornerback help, like I said, desperately. So that's where I went.
They sure do. So Derek, why? How do you like this pick?
I like the pick. Like you just mentioned, I would rather see a Derek Stingley Jr. Go here, right? Like that's where a lot of mocks end up having him fall. He went off the board before that, but cornerback is definitely a position of need. And if Gary Zimmer or Mike Zimmer was still the coach there, you would have it was almost guaranteed that you would see a cornerback or a wide receiver taken in that first round. Those things apparently are holding through to some of the new change over there. But I would have liked to have seen a Derek Stingley Jr. go there, but I do like the Trent McDuffie pick simply from the standpoint that you do have a guy like Patrick Peterson that can help bring him along, help develop him a little bit. You've got some good wide receivers there as well for him to get some practice on there as well, right? Even though Adam Thielen's a little bit longer in the tooth, Justin Jefferson is an absolute elite wide receiver, in which case he'll be able to line up against and really work on some of those skills and bring his game along there as well. So I like the pick there. I do have a little bit of concerns about some of the fit that Trent McDuffie has in that deal, but I think that you'll be able to slow roll him a little bit and bring him along as a second corner. Maybe develop him into a cover one or corner.
Yeah, And it's all about need for the Vikings. I mean, they can address wide receiver in the second round, third round. They can grab one of the that's a deep position this year. So they can get one of them in the second, third round. But their need for sure is in the defensive secondary on the defensive side of the ball. They can't give up 34, 35 points a game and hope Kirk Cousins can get 30 to 35 every game. I don't think he can do that. So they need to limit teams as best as they can. And with Aaron Rodgers in that division, I know he doesn't have the weapons, but he's gonna throw the ball a lot. So Minnesota's could win that division. It's a possibility they win that division. So they need to shore up their defensive side of the ball. So
All right. I love it. And we are now on our next pick. The Houston Texans are again on the clock after getting this pick for the Deshaun Watson trade with Cleveland. All right. And let me see if I have the pick. I do have the pick, guys. So with the 13th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, guys, the Houston Texans select Charles Cross, offensive lineman.
Yeah, like I mentioned, we're still partying down here on the Bayou. We just got our tackle off the board, Charles Cross, to solidify our left end or right end. We got Laramie Tunsil over there, but to protect Davis Mills, like I said, the general. Charles Cross, 6'5", 307. Like I forgot who mentioned earlier, but playing in the SEC is no joke. Against Alabama, 66 pass blocks, snaps against Alabama, no pressures. Phenomenal. In 2021, he had 919 offensive snaps, 719 being pass blocks, only allowed 2 sacks, no hits. He's going to be protecting Davis Mills for the duration of the season, and he'll be a cornerstone to that Houston front.
All right. The Houston Texans are thrilled right now for sure. But how do you boys feel about this pick here?
yeah, they're definitely thrilled. I mean, getting this guy to fall to 13, he could be the best offensive lineman in this class. Him or Evan Neal, one of the two. We were talking about them getting offensive line at 3. They got to stud at 13, and that basically Houston's got to be doing jumping jacks and thrilled about what they got. He's a really good offensive lineman. He's going to show in the NFL how good he really is. So,
right. And this guy's a beast to try and get around, right? Like with the fact that he comes from Mississippi State and that air raid offense that Mike Leach likes to run down there, he is well equipped to play in the passing game, right? Some of the run block probably has a little bit of work that's needed there, but from a passing game perspective, and it's not like we're projecting Houston to be, leading games and needing to try and, salt things away with the run game. They are going to be behind in a lot of games. They're going to have to be passing a fair bit there. And the fact that you've got bookend tackles now in order to, be able to bring these things along, I think that really does a lot of good things here for that.
All right. I think, Chase, you wanted to mention something real quick?
Yeah, you just muted me, man.
My bad.
No, we've been seeing recently, and I think it's going to become a trend where tackles are becoming so hit or miss that teams are starting to value them less and less every year. And we saw it especially last year. We saw who were the 2 tackles that one went to the Vikings, one went to the Chargers last year, where they were supposed to be in the top 10, and they ended up falling outside the top 10. It was Dershaw? No.
Yeah, Slater.
I think Dershaw was one.
Yeah, and then Slater was the other one. Yeah, so we're starting to see Dershaw and Slater. Thank you very much, Jeff. So we're going to start to see this, I think, become a trend in the NFL where it's just too risky of a position to take. And I know that not all NFL picks, in the top 10 will hit. But when it comes to success percentages and the amount of money that tackles end up demanding on their second contracts, I think that we're seeing tackles kind of just hey, you can go ask that from another team. You can go ask that for another team. It's fine. So I think we're going to see players like Cross where they're very good, but they're not elite, fall to that mid first round range or possibly, late first round range, very similar to how running backs have kind of fallen, but for a different reason with the running backs.
All right. Thank you, Chase, for that. Appreciate that. All right, boys, we are on to our next pick here now. The Baltimore Ravens with the 14th pick, and it's in already. Oh. All right. With the 14th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Tyler Lindenbaum. Coach Justin, my friend, what do you got for us?
What's up, buddy? So this one's one that is kind of a no-brainer for me from a Baltimore Ravens perspective. This is replacing Bradley Bozeman with somebody you can plug in right away. He's probably the safest offensive line prospect in this draft. He's getting comps to Jeff Saturday and to Jason Kelsey. So he gets to the second level very fast. You're talking about an offense that really wants to run the ball. We all know what Baltimore Ravens are trying to do. And Tyler Linderbaugh is just a plug and play, take the card to the desk and go on about your business.
All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. But do my analysts love it?
This does feel like the one of the ways that you'll see the Ravens go. I could also see them potentially look at a guy like a Jordan Davis here as well on the defensive side of the ball, right? Be that kind of big, big guy in the middle, plug things up there a little bit. I could see them looking that way there as well. If I'm the Ravens and I'm looking at offensive line, I'm thinking I'm probably looking more so at somebody that's going to play one of the tackles on this one, more so than an interior lineman like Linderbaugh does. Linderbaum is a phenomenal talent and can do some amazing things there. But the fact that you've still got Ronnie Staley coming off of that surgery, and you don't know what that's truly going to be, I think that they probably go with a guy that they can play tackle a little bit more. So if they're looking at at going O-line this early.
Yeah, I was reading up on this guy today. He has a 95.4 PFF grade, which is phenomenal. It actually is higher from last year. So this is a solid pick. And if he has a Jeff Saturday career, the Ravens have made the right pick. But I agree. I think they're going to look at linebacker. I think they're going to look at outside of the offensive line in the tackle position if there's somebody available there. But this is a solid pick for them, and this is a Ravens-like pick.
Right.
Each line or linebacker, somebody like that. So
right, and you look at the fact of how transformational that a center can be there as well, right? Like you look at what Kansas City did last year, selecting Creed Humphrey, who immediately transformed the Kansas City offensive line there as well from the center position. You could see something potentially happen similar to that. Here, I know that Tyler Linderbaum's a little bit higher graded than Creed Humphrey was last year coming into the draft. But I will tell you, from having watched a ton of Oklahoma football games, Creed Humphrey was something special. So I think that you probably will see the center, those interior line positions fall further in the draft, probably back towards the back half of the first, potentially early second.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add is this is a philosophy pick for the Ravens. The Ravens want to run the ball. So this is definitely a philosophical pick for Harbaugh and the Ravens organization. So,
all right, boys. Love the analysis on that for sure. The next one's going to be a fun one as well there here. So with the 15th pick, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, and that pick is in. All right, with the 15th pick of the NFL draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jameson Williams, wide receiver. All right, and Nick, that one was you, my friend. Why Jameson Williams?
So my 6'2", 350-pound butt is running as fast as possible to that stand to turn in this pick. The Eagles are trying to become the New England Patriots of Alabama picks here, selecting a second Bama guy 2 years in a row. Jameson Wilson, we're all in on Jalen Hurts. We're going to put him as our starting quarterback. Let's put as many pieces around him as possible. And outside of Smith, the wide receivers we have are Jalen Reagor, Zach Pascal, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Greg Ward. Like, who gets you excited there? No one. So let's put somebody in that position to be the best he can be with Hurts. And, he is injured, but without his injury, I think he is the wide receiver one of this year. I don't think there's a question about it. This class is very deep when it comes to wide receivers. And it was hard to choose between Garrett Wilson and Williams here. But as I said, having someone that can come in and just be a playmaker like he was at Alabama, the SEC, everybody knows, is challenging. You're playing the best defenses, you're playing the best cornerbacks. And Williams here, I think, gives us the best opportunity to spark our offense. Our O-line played really well last year. We're going to keep protecting Hurts and give him the opportunity to make some passes down the field.
All right. Obviously, I'm personally a big fan of Jameson Williams, but our analysts, are you guys the fan of this selection?
So I think the Jamison Williams, without that injury, is the number one wide receiver taken in this draft class, and is just a phenomenal talent there. I don't know that the Eagles take I think the Eagles take wide receiver in the first round. I don't think that they take it at 15. I think that they take it at 18. And I think that they look for some other positional needs there at 15. I could see them taking Jordan Davis right here, right? Like Jordan Davis kind of fits, philosophically what the Eagles like to do in the past. I could see him being one of those that when you're talking about that, he's a huge run stopper, huge body guy, but he's also got immense pass rush upside there as well. So I could see them going that route. I think that's probably the way that they play, because the fact that I don't know that he makes it back to them at 18. Whereas when you're looking at 18, you're going to still have some very good picks when it comes to the wide receiver position there. Again, like I said, Jamison Williams, prior to that injury, is probably the number one draft pick for a wide receiver in this class. But again, that's one of those that if you're a team taking him, you've got to be able to be patient with that one and allow him to come in fully be ready to hit the field again. And the fact that you're probably going to see, and I would guess, an offensive tackle go with either the Saints or the Chargers before it comes back to the Eagles, probably opens things up more so for the for your wide receiver options there at 18.
Yeah, and the other thing I think with the Eagles is do they want a receiver that's ready to go week 1, or are they willing to wait until Jamison Williams is ready, maybe week 8, week 9? I agree. I think they would probably go with Jordan Davis, the first pick, see what the next 2 picks shake out, and then pick the best wide receiver. Like if a Garrett Wilson's there, definitely him, maybe an Olave. But Jamison Williams is not going to be ready until halfway through the season. Are the Eagles willing to wait that long for their second receiver, or be willing to go with Jalen Riga? I would think they want a receiver that's ready right out the gate to play. So,
all right,
I
boys.
agree. I thought they'll take one of the Ohio State receivers like Olaf or like Wilson. They're like one of the quick top receivers. I mean, Williamson, he quick, but I think they want somebody like the other two said that's ready to go week 1.
Definitely, DJ. Definitely. Yep. All right, boys. Let's get on to the next pick now. Here we are on to the 16th pick, which is the New Orleans Saints, who I believe they traded up in the draft to get this selection here. So their pick is in here. So let me get my card out. With the 16th pick, the New Orleans Saints select. I'm going to mess this first name up. Nakobe Dean. Thank you. Nakobe Dean, linebacker. And I believe we have Brad in here. Brad, are you here?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the Saints have a ton of needs. They need a quarterback. They need offensive line. They need wide receivers. They need linebackers. They need everything. They have to hit. You can't reach for an offensive tackle who played tight end 2 years ago. You can't do that right here, right? We were hoping that we had a tackle drop to us. It didn't happen. But we also like the pick of the litter with the wide receivers that are here right now. We get another pick in 2 or 3 picks, so we'll take who falls. So why would we pass on the best linebacker in the class at pick number 16? It's a no-brainer. If you look at our history, we draft defense. 2021 draft, we drafted Peyton Turner in the first round. We drafted Pete Warner in the second round, and Paulson Adebo in the third round. All 3 defensive players, right? It just shows you that's what we go for. That's what we want. Demario Davis is the heart of our linebacking core. Dude's like 35 years old. It's time to find somebody who has the range that can play and learn from him maybe for a little bit of a season and come in and fill that role. So I think it's a smash pick here at 16.
All right, smash pick. But do you guys agree with the smash pick?
I do. I like Nakobe Dean as a prospect. I think that that's really kind of that was the guy that was the heart and soul of that Georgia defense that was historically great last year. Where I really want to see Nakobe Dean end up when in this draft is 21 to the Patriots. Just from the standpoint of a scheme fit, I think that that's going to maximize his capabilities there. But I could absolutely see the Saints going that route and doing that at a lot of for the same reasons that he was just talking about. The fact that you can see him, develop behind and potentially continue to grow and learn. I do think though that the Saints. I would see the Saints taking offensive line, taking tackle here. We could potentially see the Saints try and do a trade up. There's been rumors swirling around too that they'd be looking for quarterback here because again, I don't know that they think that Jameis Winston is the long-term solution for them. So we could even see the fact that you've still got both quarterbacks or two other quarterbacks on the board that would be kind of first round graded for this class potentially be there as well. They could go that route there with only Malik Willis being off the board.
Yeah, this linebacker out of Georgia is the fastest linebacker. His range is unparalleled. He's got reaction time that nobody else has in this draft. So I think the Saints took a look at that and said, we're going to get him. Their defense needs help tremendously. So I'm looking at this guy jumping right from week one, right into the starting lineup. I think he'll be quick to the ball. I think they'll have a tough time running against the Saints. Teams already do, but I think more so now with this guy who's quick, any swing passes out of the backfield, I think this guy's going to be able to react to it and make the tackle. So he's just a fast freak athlete and another defensive freak that teams just covet in this draft this year. So I like him to the Saints.
Yeah, and look, we just signed Ryan Ramczyk to a 5-year, $97 million deal last year. There's a lot of talk around him moving to left tackle. So maybe we move Ryan to the left tackle and we fill that spot with the right tackle instead of making that reach for a player right now. So
yeah. Okay. Love it. The Saints love their pick. So let's move on to the next pick here, and that would be the Los Angeles Chargers. And I believe that pick is in. With the 17th pick of the NFL draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Trevor Pennington, offensive lineman. Based on the analysis that I was given, because my friend Jorge Martin could not make it tonight, unfortunately. Justin Herbert needs more protection on the right side. He would be great bookend with Rashad Slater to build houses in the front for the stud quarterback, Justin Herbert. Now, boys, how do we feel about this pick here?
Trevor Pennington's a guy that I've been slating to the Chargers pretty much since day one of these draft deals, and I think that this is a slam dunk pick for them. I hear a lot of people talking about how they need to go receiver here. They just signed Mike Williams to an extension there. So I don't know that you necessarily need to go wide receiver with this route. You can probably pick up that wide receiver in the second round here. Trevor Pennington's a guy that may be a slight bit of a reach here. He's a guy out of Northern Iowa, so he played against not necessarily the top end competition that a lot of these other guys did coming out of college. However, he's a big body guy that he can be the bookend tackles there on this one. And I think, he played left tackle in college. However, I think they'll probably switch him over to the right tackle here, and a tremendous run blocker as well. So I think that he can do some amazing things and help, the Chargers potentially take that next step again.
Yeah. Again, another pick that you knew was going to be made. Chargers addressed their secondary in the offseason with J.C. Jackson. So they weren't going to go corner or defense. They want to protect Herbert as best as they possibly can. They want their offense to excel that much more. They don't need a wide receiver right now. Williams is there, Keenan Allen, Palmer, who they're very high on, Guyton is a fourth receiver, Eckler out of the backfield. So this made all the sense in the world for the Chargers. And as Derek said, when I looked at mock drafts, a lot of mock drafts, that's where this guy was slated to go. So sensible pick, reasonable pick, and good pick for the Chargers. So
what was the pick again?
There's Trevor Pennington to the Chargers at number 17.
Okay.
I think you're
on mute.
Sorry about that, boys. People down the home yelling over here. I didn't want to say that on the podcast. So, all right, we are moving along in this draft here, guys. We are on pick 18 now, and the Philadelphia Eagles are back on the clock once again. This time they don't go wide receiver this time, but I will announce that pick in just a few seconds. With the 18th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Jordan Davis. Nick, why Jordan Davis?
Derek just convinced me. That's what it was. No, I had this pick in. I had this pick in before you started talking, so that was kind of crazy that you mentioned it. But I agree with you. I think here the Eagles can flip-flop these picks. They're going to have some chances to kind of fill some needs. I think a couple other guys that have been mocked here are like Zion Johnson from Boston College, some interior defensive line help, or Carl Loftus, the defensive end. Some guys that can fill some of those interior lineman positions on both sides or an edge position. But Jordan Davis is a freak. I mean, he's a freak, right? He's the biggest guy to run the fastest. He can take on three offensive linemen at one time. And for this Eagles defensive line, I mean, you got Fletcher Cox coming back, which is nice. Outside of that, you're going to need some help, even if it's just some depth help. So having a guy like Jordan Davis who can come in and just terrorize people, terrorize offensive lines, and he's going to be a guy I think is in the league for a while. He's going to be a nice fit here. So we get the wide receiver we want, who I think we are okay with waiting for. I mean, they're going to want a guy. I mean, as I said, they could have gotten either the Ohio State guys to come in. But talent-wise, I think it's worth the wait for Williams. And then you come in, you get Jordan Davis on the other side of the ball. I think the Eagles are really happy with their first round.
All right. Great pick for sure. But do our analysts agree? Analysts, Derek, Scott.
I can't really say that anything other than the fact that I'd like the pick for them at 15. So I really like the pick for them when they get it at three picks later there as well. And really, I think part of the reason that Jordan Davis just seems like a fit for me in Philadelphia excuse me, is the fact that he kind of reminds me a little bit of a Fletcher Cox, who you just mentioned there as well. I could see that one come into play there a little bit, and definitely a guy that he could learn behind there as well. And, become even more of a beast there. But again, like, this is a guy that can plug up the middle, great in a defensive tackle there, has pass rush upside as well, is a guy that they're going to have to double, maybe even triple team through the gaps there and through the middle of that line there as well. So I really like this pick here.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on what Derek said. Big man, put him in the middle of the defensive line, shut the run down, force running backs to go to the outside instead of up the middle. It's a no-brainer for the Eagles to get an athletic freak of nature like this guy to put on that defensive line and say to teams, we dare you to pass, we dare you to run to the outside and try to succeed there. So it's a great pick for we got two great picks for the Eagles in the receiver and Jordan Davis. So.
All right, you guys are being really nice to a lot of these owners and GMs, guys, but that's okay. It's okay.
They're just making good picks. What can I say?
Yeah. That must be the case for sure. So before Nick, you get off, I know you are the Eagles GM right now, but you also were the Titans GM, and unfortunately, you did trade your pick away. So why did you trade that pick away before we let you get off?
Yeah, so the trade that went down was the Titans traded the 26th and the 204th for to the Jets for the 35th, 69th, and 163rd. I'm a Titans fan. I know they have a lot of holes that need to be filled right now. Offensive line in particular, wide receiver, and then defense, linebacker, cornerback, both can be addressed. They had 2 picks in the top 100, and so I've seen a lot of mocked recently to trade back, get a couple more top 100 picks, and that's what we did here with the Jets. We go back 9 picks to 35th, and we add the 69th. I think they're going to go interior line with their first pick, and I think there's going to be somebody that falls. So, as I said, Zion Johnson's been one guy that's been mocked there a lot as well, the Boston College interior lineman. I think you're going to have a guy like that you can get in that first couple of picks of the second round, and then this wide receiver class is so deep. You can get a wide receiver there at 69 or in the 4th round. I know like a guy like Calvin Austin III has been has met with them, a guy that they would like on the outside like that. So that's kind of where the thought process was with the Titans.
All right. Love it. All right.
Oh, Nick, that was a good pick. Oh, he go. The pick that Nick made was a good pick. I was gonna pick that for the Cardinals pair with J.J. Watt because they need help on the D line, but that was a good pick.
Definitely. All right, boys. We are on to the next pick here, the 19th pick. And the New Orleans Saints are back on the clock once again here. And I believe that pick is in. So let's go into that pick now. With the 19th pick, the New Orleans Saints select Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Brad, this is you again, my friend. You got the wide receiver to fall to you. Do you love it?
This is why you don't reach. You don't need to. It was perfect. This is what we were hoping was going to happen. We get our wide receiver 1 at pick 19 instead of pick 16. It's beautiful. We've got Michael Thomas coming back from injury, but guess what? This is a guy that we can cut next year and save $3 million if he underperforms yet again. We've got Marquez Callaway, who is currently our wide receiver 1, who couldn't even surpass 700 passing yards and had a 54% catch rate. So let's just let him do his thing. Let's let him run down the field, but let's let Garrett Wilson work his separation and route running magic on the field and just help Jameis Winston out. Give him somebody to throw to who's open, where he doesn't have to make piss-poor decisions, which he is very apt to do. We just want to help him out a little bit. And we think Garrett Wilson is the man to do that.
All right.
Yeah, this is one of the Saints' weaknesses for sure. They need that number 2 receiver. Callaway is a perfect number 3 receiver for them. So I agree with the pick wholeheartedly. I mean, they could have gone quarterback and develop a guy, but I think they're in a win now type of situation. And I think Michael Thomas is the only reliable receiver they have. Who knows the off-field trouble with Kamara if he's going to be there for week 1. So they need as many talented offensive people as they can get, and I think Garrett Wilson will fit nicely into that offense.
Yeah, I like the pick, right? And this is one of those that Garrett Wilson following all the way to you at 19. There's a lot of people out there would say that Garrett Wilson is the number 1 wide receiver taken off the board here. Certainly has kind of fallen a little bit in some of the mocks and some of the draft capital here recently over the last couple of weeks. But again, the guy's a tremendous receiver, good separator, pretty good route runner there as well, has some great speed to it, and really kind of fits the mold of what you've come to expect from those Ohio State type of wide receivers entering the NFL. The fact too that you've got currently an Ohio State wide receiver on the roster already. You already mentioned that with Michael Thomas. So it'll be interesting to see how this one comes to play, but I do like the pick of Garrett Wilson all the way at 19.
Okay, boys. Great as always. Now we are on to the next pick, and I believe it's the Pittsburgh Steelers who were basically milking this pick up until the pick selection here. It looks like the GM said, I'm taking off the coat. I'm ready to taking off the bow tie, man. So we're going to see how this pick goes after I announce it here in just a second.
I was never wearing a bow tie. That was the Washington GM.
What's it? What? Well, I guess so. Yeah, I guess you're right on that note. So my mistake. So
come on.
We will get on to the 20th pick now. With the 20th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Devin Lloyd, linebacker. Now, Steelers GM, why this direction? Why not a quarterback?
All right, so essentially you have Sam Pickett and Crowell on the board, right? Both those guys could end up coming in and playing year 1, especially Pickett in particular. Pickett's NFL ready, and he needs to go to a team that he can start right away. With this system that they're running over there for the Steelers and Mitchell Trubisky are what they should be running, I don't see that translating as well to Pickett's play style, although it could translate. I don't think it translates as well. So what they're going to try and do most likely is try to win with Trubisky this year. And if it doesn't work out, they can draft a quarterback next year, no skin off their back. It is what it is. It's a wash year. However, if it ends up being a wash year, they're going to need to invest in their defense. And they just went out and they brought in Miles Jack over there on a quote unquote 2-year contract, but it really wasn't a 2-year contract. It's a 1-year contract that ends up having a void year in there. That void year, I believe they can save $5.5 million if they end up cutting him. Although if they keep him, it's not that big of a deal. But it was kind of reminiscent of when the Cowboys went out and took, I think it was Van Der Esch, when they still had, I believe it was David Lee, right? And the guy they drafted in the second round, on the roster already. Essentially, they provided depth, and it worked out because Lee ended up getting hurt that year anyways. But while he was still in, they were moving different combinations of players to the outside and using them as edge rushers instead of middle linebackers, which could work in this situation. Now, if Devin Lloyd was not available at this point, like, I don't know how the Steelers don't take, what's his name, Karlaftis, right? The edge rusher out there who is an absolute machine. He fits the exact protocol of what they want for the Steelers, or, the exact system that they run. He's that blue collar workhorse type edge rusher. So I really wanted to go that route because I think that's where the Steelers go, but it's too good of a value to pass on Lloyd. I mean, Lloyd was viewed as a potential top 10 pick, or if not, selected right thereafter. So to get a player of his caliber at the 20th pick, like, you can't pass on that. The Steelers would be running to the podium. Although I can't say they would be running because they would want to take Karlaftis, but they're not going to be able to with Devin Lloyd still available at that point.
All right. Always love the in-depth analysis for sure. All right, boys, how do we feel about this pick here?
This feels like a Steelers pick. Like it does, right? When you look at it, Devin Lloyd is another guy that some would argue is the best linebacker in this class. I still believe that Nakobe Dean is the better of the two players, but very close between them. So when you're looking at Devin Lloyd has full sideline to sideline type of speed, was a very, very productive linebacker, right? Like, this is one of those that when you watch him on film, he's a guy that has a tendency to play with a very fast motor. Now, at times that can get him out of position a little bit. He takes sometimes some strange lanes to try and plug up the holes and stop some of the run to it. But overall, a fantastic player and a guy that put in the right system and put in a system that's going to teach him, how to overcome some of those things. Like, those are very minor things to work on. This guy could be an absolute monster in the league for years to come. And I love the fact that you're going to pair him up with a guy like Devin Bush, like, just monster.
It's going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, like I said, this feels like a Steelers pick all the way.
Yeah, and I think with all the talk of them going quarterback, I think they can zigzag to this guy. I think he's got speed. He can cover tight ends. He can cover running backs. He might be able to cover a wide receiver or two in the slot.
Tight ends all day.
Yeah, that defense will be stout and be a monster with Watt, with him, with Miles Jack if he performs at the level he can. So I love this pick for Pittsburgh. I think this guy could come in and be a difference maker right away, right from the jump. So.
Right. And you made a very interesting point there. The AFC North has been steadily kind of getting some of those really good tight ends into that division for a while. And this is a guy that can come in and help cover some of those guys there as well, because he does have the speed and he does have the size to stick a nose in there and make a tackle on one of those big body tight ends. They can be very physical and very fast. So again, like I said, this feels like a Steelers pick.
This guy could neutralize Andrews to a certain extent. And if he does that, the Ravens offense becomes really, really not average and vanilla. So
Craig's head looks like it's broken. I'm just saying, like, is his head?
He's got the side to side bobblehead thing going there.
He's on mute.
So
there you are. Not on mute anymore, Craig.
Say there's no way Devin Lloyd can hang with Mark Andrews.
You don't think so?
No, man, oh man, no way. No way. That
but this
shows on tape.
Yeah. That's the scheme that Steelers would be able to run with him there. I think he'll be able to do some things, right? Like, you're going to bracket coverage Andrews anyway.
Yes,
most of those
that's
times
exactly
anyway,
what it is. He's going to be the underneath guy in the bracketed coverages.
Yep.
So.
All right.
He can't hang over the top, but he can hang underneath.
Right.
All right. We are on to pick 21, guys, and this is the New England Patriots, and I believe this pick is in. All right, with the 21st pick, the New England Patriots select Leo Chanal, linebacker. Coach Craig, why did we go this direction?
So I think in real life, this is a pick the Patriots are going to try to trade back for 21. They're probably going to try to flip with Kansas City to get ahead of Green Bay for if the wide receivers are on the board. Probably like the same situation they are right now. Leo Chanal is exactly what the Patriots want in a linebacker. 6'2.5", 250 pounds. He's that bigger body linebacker with all the athleticism of you look for in a modern day linebacker. 99.99 RAS score, one of the top graded RAS scores for linebackers all time. 10-yard split at 1.5 is great for a linebacker. 4.53 at the 40-yard dash. This guy is the most instinctive linebacker in this class, and I don't even think it's close. I know some of you guys will say Nakobe Dean is, and yes, there are some questions about his coverage, but you can make a case that there are some questions about all these three guys in coverage at this point in time, and I think his instincts will make up for it. At least at the early point, he's a guy that you can plug and play. Jawan Bentley is essentially their only middle linebacker they have left right now. Deontay Hightower is a free agent. Kyle Van Noy is a free agent. Jamie Collins is a free agent. They brought in Mac Wilson, who's not that great. They need somebody in the middle, and this is the guy that Bill Belichick would be drooling over.
Yeah, I could see where you're going with that one. Like I said beforehand, I was a little sad to see Nakobe Dean go off the board because Nakobe Dean does seem like the perfect fit for what you see here, right? Like you look at Bill Belichick's favorite linebacker of all time, Jared Mayo. He fits in that similar type of thing from a football IQ standpoint. Maybe not necessarily the size that a Jared Mayo has, but from a football IQ standpoint, like that's one of the things that I think would be really scary to see if you could match a Nakobe Dean up with a Bill Belichick in that scheme to it. But I think you're absolutely right here, Craig. I think if the Patriots are here, Nakobe Dean's not on the board. I think that they trade back on this one, right? Like you look at some of their other positional needs. They need cornerback. They need offensive line. They need linebacker. So when you look at what's still on the board here, there's not anything that necessarily blows your socks off, right? Like if you're going to go with a offensive lineman, you still got Kenyon Green on the board, Bernard Raymond, Zion Johnson. You've got some of these guys that quite frankly, this is going to be a slight bit of a reach on those ones. Linebacker too. I could also see them potentially going with a Christian Harris on that one. Makes a little bit of sense. Some of that Alabama connection that Saban and Belichick have there as well, and I could see that one potentially playing out there. Cornerback, you're reaching at this point if you're going with quarterback, right? Whether it's Kair Elam or Andrew Booth or Kyler Gordon, the next top three out there, all of those guys are reaches. So I'm with you. I think that if they are in this position without some of those guys on there, they are trading back as quick as they can.
Mm-hmm. And I will say the other guy too here to look at, and this is a guy that's been mocked by a lot of people, including Dame Bugler in his 7th-round mock, is Daxton Hill. Mm-hmm. McCourty is 34 years old, 1-year contract left. You can stick Daxton Hill in the slot right away year one, and then you can move him back to free safety after this year too. And I don't think that's even like a reach at all. So it was really between those two guys. But I think Chanal at this point in time feels a bigger need. And I think Bill Belichick would love both these players.
I think you're right though. But with Daxton Hill, that's a guy that I could see easily in the middle of the 2nd round for him too.
Yeah.
They would have to trade back.
Yeah. I live up here in New England, and I'll tell you right now, with the Devontae Parker trade and signing, they're either going linebacker, and this guy seems to be a great fit for them, or they're going to trade back or out of the 1st round. It's just a Belichick thing. He just trades out of the 1st round and collects more draft picks. When you see him making trades, he always likes to get that draft pick, that late draft pick from another team. So this kid is a phenomenal linebacker. He can blitz. If they're going to blitz, he's quick to get to the quarterback. But I agree. I think he's trading back to either one of the late Green Bay pick or one of the Kansas City picks if he stays in the 1st round at all. So,
all right. New England, okay. Don't care about them that much, but it's no big deal. So as a Dolphins fan, but I'm a commissioner tonight, guys. So great pick for New England, of course. So, all right,
Steve.
I had to throw my Dolphin takes in there every once in a while. So, all right. So we're going back to the NFL draft, guys, here. Now we're on the pick 22. The Green Bay Packers acquired this pick for trading away Davante Adams. All right. And that pick is in here. So let me get my card out. And with the 22nd pick of the NFL draft, the Green Bay Packers select Chris Olave, wide receiver. Now, Adam, man, why Chris Olave?
The Packers have to replace Davante Adams, and Davante Adams was, without question, the best, smoothest route runner in the league. And I think Olave in this draft class is the smoothest, most precise route runner. And if he's the pick, if he ends up being the Packers pick, he's going to end up being the default number 1 wide receiver. And I can almost guarantee you can pencil him in for 1,000 yards and 8 to 10 touchdowns playing in that offense.
All right. I mean, I love Chris Olave as a general player, man, but analyst, how do we feel about this pick?
Yeah, I'll agree with you that Chris Olave is probably the best route runner in this class. I could certainly see them going that route because, that's one thing Davante Adams does incredibly well is run routes. I don't necessarily know that you're going to be looking for the Green Bay to go with another 6 foot, 180-pound type of wide receiver. It feels kind of like more of the same of what they already have on the roster a little bit there from their wide receiver core. I do think that they take a wide receiver here, but it wouldn't surprise me if you see them get, a big body kind of guy, like a Christian Watson out of North Dakota State, kind of go here. I could see that one where you've got the 6'5", 200 plus, the X type of archetype that Davante really plays well as, and get that frame that you typically see at that one. So I like the pick. Again, Chris Olave, phenomenal talent, great route runner, but I just see the Green Bay probably going with more of a big body guy with even more upside.
Yeah, I totally agree with Derek. If you look at their receiving room right now, it's all small bodies. It's Amari Rodgers, Randall Cobb. Lazard's not an extremely tall guy, but I think they're going to go with the
Lazard's
Watson.
6'5".
Lazard's 6'5". Okay. So the other two guys are dwarfs, so to speak. So I think I've seen Watson mocked to the Green Bay Packers with this pick or the next one. So I think that's where they're going. Olave is a great talent, but I think he's just too small for Rodgers' liking. So.
All right. I would definitely love it as a fantasy football owner if he end up going there, but
oh yeah,
we can only hope.
the chat going on about it. If he goes to that landing spot, he's probably easily the 103. I think you're absolutely right there for fantasy drafts,
especially if no one else really hits that big spot that we all love. So we'll see how it goes. But we are on to the 23rd pick, and that's the Arizona Cardinals, and that pick is in, guys. So let me get my card ready. With the 23rd pick of the NFL draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Kira Elam, cornerback. Mr. TJ, why did they go this direction?
I feel like they need they need definite cornerback, especially with Marco Wilson. They picked up last year in the draft, a 4th round pick. He did solid for them, but I still feel like they need that somebody who could come in and just pound. I mean, is it Kerry Elam? Elam had problems in Florida. He had a few penalties, but he was still one of the best shutdown corners in the SEC. So I feel like they still need help at line with J.J. Watt getting injury prone left and right. But I feel like they need depth at corner, so I'm going with Elam.
All right. Analyst, how do we feel about this pick?
Yeah, I can certainly see that one. I don't know that you're going to see Kira Elam go in the 1st round. I think he's probably going to fall into the 2nd in most cases. I think you're probably right that the Cardinals are going with cornerback, but if it's I'd probably prefer to see an Andrew Booth go in that spot, right? Kira Elam has a little bit of you've seen it where he's had a little bit of a trouble staying with the route early on in it. He does some good job as far as, some press coverage, things like that. Has a harder time staying connected to the receiver early on in the route there. So I think you could see him go, but there's some developmental work there. Whereas Booth, a little bit more of a finished guy right now, a little bit more polished there. And the one of the big knocks on Booth is that he's just very aggressive. And while he got away with that at Clemson, he may get a little bit more stuck on an island out there at the NFL level. Whereas with Clemson, they did a lot of bracket coverage on his side. So he was able to play very aggressive. One of the other things I could see the Cardinals doing here is going with a wide receiver. While they did sign AJ Green again, right? AJ Green is very long in the tooth. This is not a long-term solution for him. DeAndre Hopkins is getting closer to that kind of magic year that we all look at for wide receivers at 31, right? We're a year or two away from that. And, while they drafted Rondale Moore early last year, I don't know that that's a long-term solution for you either. So I could see them going with like a Treylon Burks, should he still be on the board there, be that big body archetype that they've kind of fit into that scheme the last few years.
Yeah, I think this pick with Kingsbury is all about what they think about Rondale Moore and his progression in the NFL and what they see from him in the next year or two. I agree with Derek. I think they may go Treylon Burks here and shore up that wide receiving core, losing Christian Kirk. But I also think that Elam is very inconsistent for my taste. So I would see them taking a Booth or even a Dax Hill from Michigan in that spot if they're going to go cornerback. So.
Okay. We are on to the next pick. That would be pick 24, Dallas Cowboys. And I believe that pick is also in. So let's get to that pick. And with the 24th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Zion Johnson. Coach Craig, my friend, why did the Cowboys go Zion Johnson here?
Well, obviously they lost Lyle Collins to the Bengals. They need some help on that offensive line. First of all, this is more of what I would do if it was Jerry Jones. We know he'd be rushing to the podium for Treylon Burks, being the Arkansas homer that he is. But I think this helps them out quite a bit at guard. You could, in theory, you could kick him out to right tackle if you really wanted to and challenge Terrence Steele. You could kick him inside to center and challenge Tyler Biadasz. Shout out to Tyler Biadasz. He's actually from the town I live in now, this little tiny town of 1,200 people, in Wisconsin. So I think there's a lot of versatility there, and you get a player that you can plug and play right away, and you don't even have to really think about it. And he pretty much fits any scheme that you can have too, and he's a very intelligent player, as a lot of people do know and found out at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah. I like that pick a lot. I think you're right. I think if Jerry has any say on it when it comes down to it and Treylon Burks is still on there, they're probably going that route there. One question, though, how much consideration did you put on Kenyon Green for that pick with him still on the board?
I mean, for me personally, I just value Zion Johnson a little bit higher than Kenyon Green. Obviously, they're both pretty versatile. They both played all over the board in college, but we know that Zion Johnson is the more athletic guy out of the two. He's probably the more intelligent guy out of the two from football IQ perspective too. From real life perspective, he definitely is, but
right,
that's a whole other story.
And that's the beautiful thing about him, right? And you mentioned it, that he can play the interior. You can probably bump him out as a right tackle there as well, giving you more versatility than I think what a Kenyon Green, who I actually have rated higher than Zion Johnson as far as, a pure prospect type of deal there. But Kenyon Green is going to be a guy that's going to be an interior an interior offensive lineman, play the guards. You're not going to really see him play center there, but interesting pick there. And one that I could certainly see the Cowboys making. Like Zion Johnson feels like he would fit into the Dallas scheme very well.
I love Zion Johnson. I mean, I'm up here in New England, obviously, so I love any Boston College guy that comes out. He's a very physical offensive lineman. Did not allow a lot of pressures, any sacks at all last year at Boston College. So if the Cowboys organization can keep Jerry Jones from himself, this will be the pick. If they can't, Treylon Burks is going there. But I love this pick. They definitely need offensive linemen. I think they'll get a really good, solid one in Zion Johnson for years to come. So,
all right. Great pick there. The Cowboys, they definitely need to get that line going once again. But we are on the 25th pick here, and that's the Buffalo Bills, guys. And this one was definitely an eye opener for sure to some people in our group chat. So we'll see here. The pick is in. With the 25th pick of the NFL draft, the Buffalo Bills select Kenneth Walker, running back. Mr. Justin, my friend, why did Kenneth Walker first RB go off the board?
Yes, so similar to the Chiefs, this one's going to be a little bit of a shocker. I think that if the Bills are going to go running back, which I think they do want to go running back, but I think that their full intention is to actually trade down. If they go running back, it's going to actually be Kenneth Walker over Breece Hall. Breece Hall actually, when you dig into the numbers, averaged 3 yards per carry against defenses in the top 25. Comes from that offense at Iowa State. Montgomery went, and he's had okay production, but I think Kenneth Walker is the preferred back. Had elite production in the Big Ten this year, over 1,600 yards of offense. 263 carries. I think he fits what they're trying to do. I think he's going to fit more into that Zach Moss role, kind of be the every down back that they're looking for. And then they're going to use Singletary more so on third down backs. I also think that, we did try moving up earlier on the board to get a corner. I think that, we're going to go the best player at their position based on the grading system. And I think Kenneth Walker fits this offense more so than a Breece Hall, which will be a shocker to a lot of people. And hopefully it doesn't end up being like the Chiefs did a couple years ago, where they surprised us all and took Clyde Edwards-Helaire first off the board instead of Jonathan Taylor. But based off everything I've seen, I think Kenneth Walker is the better back here. Similar numbers in the 40, similar numbers at height and weight. Kenneth Walker is my preferred player, and it's a shocker to a lot of people.
It sure is, for sure. But the analysts are going to go first on this one. So, boys, how do you feel about this pick here?
Well, I like Kenneth Walker, the talent, but from a pick in the first round, I'm not a fan of it. While I think Kenneth Walker has upside that we haven't necessarily seen, that that skill set didn't get used at Wake Forest or at Michigan State from pass catching, like that just wasn't really part of the game there. However, when you see him in pass protection, that is a glaring weakness in his game right now. So it keeps him off the field as a third down back. I don't think that you're going to see a running back taken in today's football or today's NFL that is a 2-down back in the first round. I think that you're right. I think the Bills can trade back and be able to take him middle of the second. It wouldn't surprise me to see him still hanging around the 40th to 50th pick, kind of in that range there. So I could see them trying to trade back, move back, and do that. But the Bills still have a very glaring need here as well, especially with some of the things going on with the safety Poyer. So I could see them going more so at a guy like Andrew Booth, who's still on the board out there and is a glaring need for them, and is a guy that will not be around in the second round, I don't think. So I think that's probably more the route that you would see them go. The fact that you still are seeing guys like Treylon Burks out there too, Christian Watson, and I could see them going all in on a pass heavy deal more so than the run. Like that's where they've put their chips the last few years. So if they're going to keep that pick, I think that they're going with either a Treylon Burks, the way that this draft has fallen, or I would see them going with a cornerback in Andrew Booth.
One thing I will add to that is that the last corner they took in the first round was Trey White, but that was actually their prior past regime. Historically, Brandon Beane, and even when he was in Carolina, they don't typically take cornerbacks in the first round, so that was part of the consideration for me as well. I have Treylon Burks was right up there. It was down to those two players, but I went the running back position based on kind of what I think they need, but I agree with your analysis.
Yeah, Buffalo seemed to sour on their running backs quickly. I mean, Singletary had a tremendous end of the season and into the playoffs last year. Zach Moss is nowhere to be found anymore. He's gone. They tried Matt Breida last year. That failed after a game or two. So I agree. I would think they're going to try to go cornerback in this first pick, and they can get Walker in the second round with their second round pick. But I don't understand what Buffalo's doing with their running back room. They just sour on those guys fairly quickly. Kenneth Walker's a stud in the making. 89 broken tackles last year, 20 in one game. So he's definitely could be a first round pick, but he's going to end up being a second rounder, I think. So, he's better than Breece Hall. I have him ranked ahead in my mock draft. So.
So the stretch Z, right? That actually relies on the exact player that Kenneth Walker actually is, where they want to get the guy to the outside. It's a little bit different from the wide zone run scheme, where you try to find a seam, similar like what Clinton Portis ran, in college, where he ran a bunch up the middle, but once he was able to get it outside, he found a seam, he was gone. When it comes to Kenneth Walker, this is the ideal scheme for him to come in and work with, but unfortunately, for anybody that runs this stretch Z, they don't look for running backs that are anything earlier than the third round because they tend to get hurt earlier. The types of hits that these guys take are absolutely brutal, and so they don't last very long in the NFL. When you end up having a player like this, or an opportunity to bring in a guy that could end up touting the rock 20 times a game or so, it doesn't end up in a system like this. So unfortunately, with Kenneth Walker, I think you're end up spending too high of a draft capital for the Bills to go with a player that has his skill set. If they want a complete running back, I know you guys don't like Breece Hall, but if they were going to go running back, I think they would go Breece Hall at this point because he could help pass block. And I think that the Bills are going to try to get Josh Allen to stop running as much with these design runs. Breece Hall can help with that. Kenneth Walker can't.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, Breece Hall is certainly the more ready 3-down back for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Appreciate it, fellas.
Absolutely. Thank you, Justin. Now that was a good round of pick right there. All right. So let's get over to the next pick. I believe we are on pick 26, and we're going offense here. And let me get my note card out for this one. With the 26th pick of the NFL draft, the New York Jets select Treylon Burks, wide receiver. Dan, why Treylon Burks? And are you thrilled right now, man?
All right, so first little backstory. So this was the Titans pick originally, and we traded up earlier today. I was hoping to target a pocket of wide receivers that were going late first in this draft. And then I know I had Green Bay and Kansas City twice coming up right behind me, so it seemed like a little sweet spot. I'll be honest, when I saw the receiver starting to go off, I started to sweat a little bit, but thankfully Treylon was still there for us. So we will be hanging a banner in MetLife tonight because we won the 2022 NFL draft, and I think that's the most the Jets have won recently, so they deserve a banner for doing something. No, leaving the first round with, dominant edge rusher, dominant shutdown corner, and now a wide receiver 1 for our offense. I know Treylon's been getting some knocks on his profile as we get further into the pre-draft process, whether it's, glove gate with him not actually having extra large hands or his suboptimal 40 time. However, just, being a dominant receiver in the SEC, playing on a very poor offense, I was looking at some numbers today, and Treylon's quarterback, KJ Jefferson, when not targeting Treylon, was averaging like 4 yards per attempt. Quarterback play was not the strong point for Arkansas. So hopefully we get him up to the next level, get him working with some receivers coaches, and then Zach Wilson and him find a little bit of chemistry. And then this offense is looking really nice with Treylon, Corey Davis, and Elijah Moore as your core 3 going forward. So I think the Jets are very happy with the way this first round of the NFL draft went.
Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think the Jets are looking for that third wide receiver to bolster their offense, that third explosive wide receiver to go with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis. And in Treylon Burks, they definitely found it. I think they got the makings of a good, solid offensive team. If Zach Wilson can distribute the ball to his wide receivers, plus they signed CJ Uzama, so I think he's going to be a part of their offense as well, and make a dent in that offense. So they have the makings of a nice offense. And with Michael Carter in the backfield, I think they can focus on defense a little bit more the rest of the draft here. So.
Right. Yeah, I think that the Jets have done a phenomenal job through the first round here, right? Like drafting Treylon Burks there allows him to play the X, right? He's got the archetype to be that true X receiver in the NFL. 6'3", 220 plus pounds there. Allows Corey Davis to shift more into his natural role as a wide receiver 2 onto a team. And you've got Elijah Moore to go crazy over the slot. So love the fact there, and the fact that you've invested into that Zach Wilson's development there, and you're giving him more weapons there. I'll be honest, though, I don't know that Tennessee trades back on this one. Just from the standpoint, they could also use a wide receiver there with Treylon Burks still there, like would make a great fit for Tennessee. The fact too that there's some other options that you could see Tennessee doing there as well. You could see Tennessee even being a team that takes a running back here as well. So you could see them taking a Breece Hall there with him still on the board. Just from the standpoint, we've seen them do that several times in the past. I would love to have said that they would have been taking a linebacker here, but I don't know that they're going to go linebacker on this one. With what's left on the board. Zion Johnson's another guy that I could see them targeting especially well there. The fact that you've got the Boston College connection between Vrabel and Mike Vrabel's son played on that same offensive line as Zion Johnson. So if he was still around, I could see them going that route too. But I love the pick for the Jets. Also giving my 2 cents on what I think the Titans do there as well, because I don't think they trade out of it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right. Good for you, New York Jets. Get some players that actually help you win a game for once. All right, on to the next pick here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at pick 27. And that pick is also in. All right, so with the 27th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Daxton Hill. And our GM for this one sent me a letter in on his reasoning why. The Bucs need help on the defensive side of the ball. I picked my favorite player left, playmaker who can stuff people at the line of scrimmage. He mainly plays out of the slot last year and is fantastic in man coverage from that position. The Bucs struggled with secondary depth last season, and he can fill that role. So, analysts, how do you feel about this pick?
It makes sense. I'm not sure that that's the way the Buccaneers would be going, though. I think with the fact that you've got Kenyon Green still on the board, I think that's probably the route that they go. They're able to bolster up that offensive line, which is a primary need for them. Defensive line, another big hole for them as well. Whereas a hybrid nickel safety really isn't necessarily a glaring need for them, but he is a playmaker. He has some very good athleticism. He's very explosive. I just don't see them going that route in the first round when there's still some other options out there on this board.
Yeah, they lost an offensive lineman to retirement. They shored up their wide receiving core with the Russell Gage signing. So their offensive line probably is first and foremost in protecting Brady as best as they can. And keeping him upright. So I think that the Buccaneers are going to definitely look at offensive line in this position. They can address cornerback later in the draft. They can pick up a third or fourth round guy that can be a third or fourth cornerback for them. But Brady's back out of retirement, so they need to protect him. And by losing that offensive lineman, I think that's the way they go for sure in protecting Brady in that offense. So.
All right. Mr. Hill, hope you enjoy your time in Tampa Bay. All right, on to the next pick, guys. Pick 28, the Green Bay Packers, original selection here. And that pick is in as well. So let me get my card out for this. The Green Bay Packers selecting at 28, select George
Karlaftis.
Karlaftis. Thank you so much. George Karlaftis here. Now, Mr. Adam, why are we picking George Karlaftis here?
So Mr. Karlaftis pretty much meets every single athletic threshold for the Packers except for one. He doesn't have quite as the great length as they probably would want, but he's super twitchy. He gives 100% on every single play, and he's going to instantly come in and fill that role that Zadarius Smith has now voided since he went back to Baltimore. So they definitely need help at edge. I was thinking about O-line, but I think that Karlaftis fills an immediate need for Green Bay.
All right. So, boys, how do you feel about Karlaftis?
I like the pick. I could certainly see Green Bay going this route. George Karlaftis is a guy with a big motor on this, a team that you don't necessarily see or talk about much coming out of Purdue, even though they are a Big Ten school. And he's a guy that can really get after the quarterback. Not necessarily going to be your blind side kind of guy, but he's going to be the strong side of the defense there. Really can play well either out of kind of a 4-3 or a 3-4 there. So I could see them going that route. Midwest kind of guy, has kind of that Packers feel to him a little bit as far as, how he puts in some of the work ethic and how he shows up there. So I like the pick, and I could certainly see the Packers going that route.
Yeah, I like the pick as well. At this point, this guy slipped a little bit. So this is good value on getting him in the late first round. He rushes the quarterback at a really good pace. So I think that's something that Green Bay would want. They addressed their wide receiver a little bit with the first pick. So I think this second pick is going to be a defensive player. And I think Karlaftis is the guy that they're going to pick if he's there to rush the quarterback. So
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Green Bay Packers. Now, next on the clock here, pick 29. This is where the Seattle Seahawks traded down from pick 9 with the Kansas City Chiefs and acquired the next 2 picks. But we'll start with the first pick here. So let me get my card back out for this one. All right. So with the 29th pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Andrew Booth Jr., cornerback. Mr. Dave, you're on mute, my friend. Why did you make this pick?
Yeah, well, they need secondary help. Jamal Adams obviously doesn't do much in coverage. They've really lacked the corner for a long time. And I think they trade a day 2 pick. They might go get Baker Mayfield or another quarterback. I don't think they go quarterback here. If we were going to do that, we probably would have just stuck and picked up front. But this gave us some more picks, and we're going to go with Andrew Booth. He's a great corner out of Clemson. Does man, does zone. I like him.
All right, boys. How do we feel about this cornerback here?
Yeah, I like this pick a lot. This is one that, again, I said earlier, I don't think that you see the Chiefs trade their 2 first-rounders to move up to 9. And this is a pick that if Andrew Booth was still here for the Chiefs, they'd be taking it as well. But the fact that Seattle and the way that they like to build things around there, this makes a lot of sense for them. Andrew Booth is a guy that, quite frankly, I'm a little surprised he has fallen this far in the draft. Corner being a little bit more of a premium position from what we've seen in the NFL lately, and is a guy that can play both zone, can play man, and is a guy that has a tremendous upside. One of his big downfalls right now, or opportunities, I would say, is the fact that he has a tendency to be super aggressive. And while that allowed him to be successful at Clemson because of how they run some of their defensive schemes, we could see that be a developmental step needed for him at this next level.
Yeah, I agree. Seattle was passed on at an alarming rate in the first half of the year before last and last year as well. So they need cornerback help. I like the Booth pick. I think he slipped a little bit based on some of the things that I've seen. He, as Derek said, he is a gambler. So I think Pete Carroll and that staff can kind of rein that in a little bit and use that to his benefit instead of a disadvantage for them. So I like the pick. I think Seattle wants to play defense and run the ball. That's the MO of Pete Carroll. So this pick makes a lot of sense.
All right. Definitely a good pick there for sure. We are on to the pick 30, guys. Only 3 picks left of this draft. And of course, like I said already, Seattle has this pick as well because of the trade with Kansas City. So let me get the card out for this one. And with the 30th pick in the NFL draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Boye Mafe.
All
right, Mr. David, why did we go this direction?
Yeah, he was the best edge defender on the board. I think this would have been a great pick for Kansas City as well. This guy is all motor. He lives in the backfield, had a bunch of tackles for loss. He's a great run defender, and he's just got great hands, great motor. So I think Mafe is going to be a guy that sneaks into the back end of the first round.
All right, boys. How do you feel about this pick here, pick 30?
Yeah, I like it. And at this point in the draft, with both Boye Mafe and another edge that's still out there, Devontae Wyatt, I think both of these guys are I've got them really kind of very similar to each other there. I like the pedigree of Wyatt a little bit more so than I do Mafe, but I'm not, I'm still a fan of that pick. And I think that if Kansas City was here, they would be going with one of those 2 guys there as well. So I like the pick. One of the things that Devontae Wyatt does for me a little bit more so is the fact that he played against the tougher competition in the SEC there on a historically great defense, learned a lot of things while he was there, and just has a motor that allows him to be both a great pass rush and a great run stopper as well. And he can shift the line back and shift on the line back and forth very well. So I think he's probably got another little skill set in there, but Boye Mafe is still a great pick here.
Yeah, again, the Pete Carroll MO, they need to focus on defense. They need to get better on the defensive side of the football. I mean, you got a lot of good teams in that division, a lot of offensive good teams. So they need to build that defense as best as they possibly can. And I think an edge rusher and a cornerback in these two picks will help Seattle out tremendously and will give them a little bit more boost on defense. So,
all right. Great 30th pick there. Now we on to pick 31. The Cincinnati Bengals, the young Cincinnati Bengals are now on the clock here. And we have this pick, and it is in. So with the 31st pick in the NFL draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Devontae Wyatt. Mr. Justin, why did we go this direction?
So sitting here at pick 31, you're looking at it, and it's like you're wanting to take best player available, especially with the roster shaping up the way the Cincinnati Bengals have it. I wanted Andrew Booth Jr. for that cornerback room, but with him coming off the board earlier, I went Devontae Wyatt, a guy that probably he's a mid-first round grade for me, actually. He's somebody that's going to help a lot in that AFC North where there's just strong run games, and his run defense is his calling card. He's 6'3", 304 pounds. And he was a staple in the middle of a phenomenal Georgia defensive line. So it'll be interesting to see what he does when he gets out on his own. And what this also does for Cincinnati is allows them to cut bait with DJ Reader after this year, which would save them about $12 million in cap space.
Yep. All right. Love the pick there, obviously. How do you guys feel?
I like this one. I just got done ranting and raving about Devontae Wyatt being available down in this range. So absolutely love the pick, right? Like, and he hit it spot on. He's a great pass, can get after the pass rush, but is also a great run defender here as well. One of the other things that I could see Cincinnati doing on this one is, a guy like Kenyon Green, who has had a mid-first round grade kind of fall in there. And I know that Cincinnati has done a lot of work through the free agency on their offensive line there. It's one of those that I could see them, going to Kenyon Green there as well, adding some more depth into that as well. But love the Devontae Wyatt pick here.
Yeah, I love it too. I mean, the free agency led right into what they did in the first round of the draft. They addressed their glaring weakness on the offensive line. So now they're gonna address their other issues, which is on defense and shoring that up, and anywhere else they think. But if they can shore up their defense, they could be a powerhouse in the AFC for years to come. So I love this pick.
Yeah, definitely a really good pick for sure. And we were on to the last pick, guys, and we thought it'd be easy. We thought the Detroit Lions would just make this pick here, but no. They want to make more picks later on in other future drafts that we will not be having. But I love it. I love the trades here. And the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm sorry. The Detroit Lions have traded away. Let me see if I have the numbers here. The 32nd pick in the draft to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Detroit Lions will receive the 52nd, the 84th, and the 138th in this trade here. Before we get to the pick here, Mr. Dave, why did you trade out of this pick, my friend?
Well, Steelers GM was very adamant, showing a lot of chest hair. There was definitely some extra, some DMs. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're committed to one of these quarterbacks, you go and grab them. But the Detroit Lions are not looking to compete this year. They know they need to build and collect picks. So trading back, collecting draft capital, it makes sense.
All right. I love it. Now, Chase, before you tell us the pick, tell us why you thought about trading up here.
Well, first off, like you're telling me to tell you the pick like I'm supposed to do in the Excel sheet that you set up very graciously for us. But if I tell you the pick, then that means the show is going to end. So I don't want that to happen. Like, I don't want this to end. Come on, I'm having too much fun. So I'll type it in as I'm talking. But it's something that's where like there's a player that fits into the system perfectly for what I think the Steelers need to do to achieve success. And so if Mitch Trubisky ends up not being as great as, what they expect him to be, then we're going to need somebody that actually fits in to the system that can do the same things that Trubisky does. And when we talk about them not having an offensive line, there's a lot of holes the Steelers have, right? Like all over the freaking place. But the offensive line is pretty much a glaring need. So getting a mobile quarterback to fit in that system was absolutely crucial. So that's why I wanted to make sure that I secured the quarterback and not waited for the second round for that quarterback to fall, because there's one quarterback that fits it to a T.
And I love the selection you just made here. And we will get to it right now. So with the final pick of this NFL draft tonight, guys, the 32nd pick, as you guys already know, the Pittsburgh Steelers have selected Sam Howell, quarterback out of North Carolina. Now, you gave us a little background already, Chase, in this pick. Is there anything else you want to mention about Sam Howell?
Well, it's more so that I want to mention about the other quarterbacks, because you could consider Matt Corral, right? Or you could consider Kenny Pickett here. I think both are overall better quarterbacks, but none of them have the same ceiling that Howell does. And like I said, the system fits. They're much bigger possible future success. The only thing is the Steelers, they suck at developing quarterbacks. So they have to do their best to actually develop a young quarterback to be able to fit into the starting role, or else they're going to be caught, in the twilight zone essentially for the next 10 years until they find like the next Ben Roethlisberger drafting inside of the top 10. So they need to make moves. They need to make sure that they secure it. They need to make sure they develop it. But nobody fits this system better than Sam Howell.
All right, boys. How are you feeling about this shocking last traded pick?
I mean, thank you for making that one interesting here at the end. I do like that one. However, like this, it feels like the Steelers already have Sam Howell on the roster just by the name of Mitchell Trubisky. Like that's where the comp is for me.
UNC, all that stuff.
Exactly, right? Like Sam Howell to me is Mitchell Trubisky with less rushing upside. So I don't know that I necessarily love the pick. I could see Detroit not trading out of it if they are as quarterback desperate as what we're led to believe on that one, picking up one of these other guys and getting that 5th-year option. I could see why Pittsburgh's also moving back up into the first round here to get that 5th-year option on that one. But yeah, I'm not a big believer in Sam Howell. I'm not a big fan of that one. I think that he will ultimately become a perpetual backup in the NFL there, and that will be journeyman backup type of quarterback is what I see his role being in the NFL. Whereas with the guys still on the board like Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, Kenny Pickett especially a little bit more polished. And when you're talking about the Steelers needing a quarterback that is a little bit more polished because they don't have that developmental game plan that they've had in the past there, I would see them potentially going with a Kenny Pickett type there, letting him develop to the speed of the game, roll out Mitch Trubisky behind that putrid offensive line that they've got, and take the lumps until Kenny Pickett can come up to speed with the game there.
Did you say that Sam Howell doesn't have the rushing upside of Mitch Trubisky?
I think Mitch Trubisky has a little bit more rushing upside than.
I mean, Sam Howell ran for 1,000 yards like this past season compared to Mitch Trubisky's best season in college being like 300 or something like that. It's not even close as to the rushing capabilities. And when you're able to get this rushing threat essentially at the quarterback position, and then you have a guy with a big arm like Sam Howell that Kenny Pickett might not have, Matt Corral is debatable, but you have players like Chase Claypool, right, who can actually get downfield. I think it's the perfect opportunity to throw a guy like Sam Howell into that offense, and it could be a massive explosion. Plus, I mean, Sam Howell's 21, 22 years old. Pickett's 24. So you also get a couple more years of development that you can capitalize off of.
With Howell, I think they could get him in the second round with their second round pick instead of trading up. I think Pickett is probably the guy they're going to go with if they were to trade up in this spot, only because I think that Tomlin wants to get a guy that is not on the move. He's used to a Roethlisberger type of guy where he's a pocket passer. I don't know if Trubisky will last the year as a starter. I think he might get benched late in the year if things don't go right. And I don't think Sam Howell would be the guy that he would want stepping in. I think it's going to be Kenny Pickett. I think he's the most NFL-ready quarterback. I think they've seen him more than anybody with him in his backyard across the locker room from the Steelers. I think Pickett can get the ball to Claypool. I think he can get the ball to Deontay Johnson on a consistent basis. I just think it would be Pickett would be the choice here, and then Corral would be second. I think Howell is further down the board, and I think they could get him in middle second round to late second round. So I don't think they would need to trade up for him.
I agree with you like 100% in terms of like, hey, they could wait. But the thing is if they see that Hal is their guy and they want to go get that player, they're going to do it. The issue with Pickett is, can he beat Deshaun Watson? Right? Will he be able to beat Lamar Jackson? And I don't think that Pickett offers that upside. They would essentially have to say, hey, we're going to beat him with defense, and Pickett can end up, winning the game for him. But if they think that Hal has that upside to be able to go out and beat Lamar Jackson, to go out and beat Joe Burrow, to go out and beat Deshaun Watson, you're going to need to grab your guy and make sure that you don't miss out on him because you wanted to wait for him to fall to you. And if he has that upside, if they see that he has that upside, that's where my mind goes. It's like, hey, if they see him as the guy, they're not going to wait. And as for Mitch Trubisky, yeah, he's like pretty much like a clone to an extent. I think he has better downfield arm and he's a better rusher. But and Mitch Trubisky was better coming out of college than Sam Howell is coming out of better college, like by far. Like that's not the debate. It's just the tools that Sam Howell has is the difference here. But if they feel like Mitch Trubisky can start for a year, but he does really, really well or well enough, and they're able to transition the Steelers system into, hey, we're going to feature more of a rushing type style offense, similar to what the Browns are going to do, similar to what the Ravens have been doing against them, then they can end up having Howell on their roster at a way cheaper price over the next 5 years versus going with Trubisky.
Yeah, make no mistake about it. The Steelers want to get in the playoffs with Trubisky while developing Howell or Pickett or Ritter or Corral, whoever they pick.
And Ritter's another option too in the third.
Yeah. Right. And then in 2023, be able to start whoever they draft at the end of this round and put him in and go from there. So that's their ideal situation.
Yeah, because Hal definitely has some wiggle when it comes to running a game. Is a very tough competitor. However, he has an incredibly slow release, right? Like you sit there and you watch that. A lot of times you see him pat the ball and then go through a giant windup on that. That Pittsburgh line is not going to allow him to do that. So maybe that is the option where he is a project quarterback where they can work on that release. They can work on speeding up that. He does have some good multi-slot when it comes to getting the ball out, and he is able to put some zip on it. But he is a guy that would also need to work on being able to throw receivers open because his timing is a bit of an issue, touch is a bit of an issue, and we haven't necessarily seen him throw guys open there. So
yeah, he's got a lot of issues.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that he's got a lot of issues. I just think that he's a guy that could end up stepping into that starting role and play the same exact role. I mean, you brought it up, Derek. You're like, hey, this is a guy that is a clone of Mitch Trubisky, and it's pretty damn close. Yeah. So if there's any guy to put behind him, it's like, hey, the guy, hey, you don't want to do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. This is where I messed up. So this is the perfect guy to put behind Mitch Trubisky to try and optimize his tools and what he brings to the table. And hopefully he doesn't make the same mistakes that Trubisky made.
Okay.
Definitely a great last pick. Obviously a big fan. But that is going to end our mock draft tonight, guys. This was a fantastic show, guys. I appreciate all of you for tuning in and all of you who are on, obviously, right now with me for helping out. I know this was a long process, I know, but I do appreciate all your guys' help tonight. This was a lot of fun for sure. And if there's anything you guys want to mention real quick before we end this, I will give you guys the quick floor.
Just thanks for having us. Thanks for putting this together. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having us. I appreciate it. It was an honor to meet everybody and to go through the first round with everybody. So
absolutely. So I appreciate you guys all. We're gonna end it here, guys.
Me being new to this, I'd like to thank everybody. I'm learning from y'all on this, but I'd like to thank everybody for having me on.
Absolutely, TJ. Absolutely.
Of course. Dude, that was fun. That was a blast. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Definitely a good time.
All right, we're doing day 2 tomorrow, right?
Day 2 tomorrow, boys. All right. Another 5-hour show. But thank you.
Dude, I can go 6.
Thanks a lot, Steve. Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Absolutely.
Thanks,
Steve. Thank you all. Appreciate that. So we're going to wrap this up, guys. We'll be back to Fantasy Coaches after the draft. Until then, guys, catch you later.